Naruto. At the beginning, he got the fighting power to create Madara. Chapter 16. Bang! A powerful blue Susanoo appeared, and then swung its giant arm violently, directly knocking Xiao Li back. Xiao Li, Uzumaki Naruto, Tenten, and Neji stepped forward to support Xiao Li, who was sent flying back. Protected by the Susanoo second stage that appeared in the skeleton, Chen Yibin took the right eye eternal kaleidoscope that he had just taken out from the system space in his hand slowly and put it back into the original right eye socket with a relatively rough medical method. Instantly, the two eternal Mangekyo Sharingan were assembled. The extremely powerful pupil power and chakra suddenly burst out around Chen Yibin. Nine-Tail, it's time to put a collar on you. With a pair of extremely evil eternal kaleidoscope scarlet eyes, Chen Yibin seemed to see the Nine-Tail sealed in the kid's body through Uzumaki Naruto. This pupil power. Mada, he got back the power he had back then. The Nine-Tails was furious. Then, the Nine-Tails talked to Uzumaki Naruto. You little brat, get out of here quickly. Did you hear me? No, I can't leave Konoha at this moment. I want to become the Hokage, so I won't run away. Uzumaki Naruto was determined. You stupid, self-righteous brat. Kurama was so angry that he wanted to cry. These Konoha ninjas obviously had no ability to compete with Madara. If he didn't leave, he would definitely be taken as a pet by Madara again like before. My medical ninjutsu is not enough. Chen Yibin felt that he could not close the eternal Mangekyo in his right eye. Obviously, the meridian connection of his right eye was not perfect, which caused Chen Yibin's right eye, eternal Mangekyo, to remain open all the time. In this regard, medical saint, Tsunade, maybe you can be of some use to me. Chen Yibin suddenly glanced in the direction of Tsunade, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Remember, there seems to be Asura's flesh and blood in the internal space of the system. It must contain Asura's chakra, no doubt. If you want to get it, Tsunade, this woman, may come in handy again. But, this woman obviously won't obey. No, that's not right. She will obey. If I use that ability, it should be possible. However, I still need to plan a little. However, it should be soon, and it's all under control. We can capture him first. The next second, Chen Yibin took away the second-level Susanoo and began to walk slowly with a sickle weapon in hand. Clacking. Clatter. They walked towards the exit of this huge ravine, including Princess Tsunade and other Konoha ninjas. At this moment, Chen Yibin's first goal was to control Princess Tsunade. Everyone be careful. In response, as the fifth Hokage, Tsunade stood in front of everyone at this time. Hokage. Nara Shikaku, Hyuga Hiyashi, Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai, Azuki Yugao and many other Konoha ninjas looked at Tsunade in front of them. Then, at worst, you'll just die. Mitarashi Anko took a step forward and came to Tsunade-sama. Even though I am not strong enough, I will do my best to avenge you, for Hayate. Then, it was Azuki Yugao. For our village, Konoha. Finally, Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Inoichi, Hyuga Neji, Hyuga Hinata, Yuhi Kurenai, Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru and other Konoha ninjas all stepped forward and stood beside Tsunade. Chen Yibin paused. He seemed a little surprised that the Konoha ninjas had not yet given up hope and still had the courage to resist him. Did you see it? This is the strongest power we inherited from our great-grandfather, the will of fire. Motor. At this moment, Tsunade clenched her fists proudly. Is that so? Chen Yibin regained his calm look, but it seems the first person to be dealt with should be you, the so-called fifth Hokage. After saying that, Chen Yibin dodged and rushed to the opposite side the next second. His speed was as fast as lightning. During this time, some Anbu ninjas actually came up to block Chen Yibin's steps. Bang bang bang. Pusha. Chen Yibin was like a red rose on the battlefield, constantly flying among the many Konoha Anbu ninjas, and the sickle weapon in his hand kept taking away fresh lives. Even a random punch or kick could kill many Konoha Anbu ninjas. Reikiri. Kakashi also used the thunder in his hand to attack Chen Yibin from the side. In response, Chen Yibin easily dodged Kakashi's Reikiri by turning sideways. Suddenly, bang bang bang. Several ninja dogs emerged from the ground. They were Kakashi's summoned beasts, Puck and other ninja dogs. They pounced on Chen Yiban. What a trick! Chen Yiban kicked Kakashi away. Then he slashed with the sickle in his hand. Puff puff puff. All the ninja dogs turned into white mist and disappeared. Dog blood dripped onto the ground. Parker. Kakashi got up with difficulty after being kicked away. Tsunade kicked Chen Yiban from above. Bang! Chen Yiban blocked it with the handle of the sickle in his hand, and the ground under his feet collapsed. But when Tsunade landed, bang! Chen Yiban's chakra gathered in his legs wearing ninja boots, and kicked back at Princess Tsunade. Although Tsunade blocked it with both hands in time, she was still blown away by Chen Yiban's strange power that was not weaker than hers. Swoosh! At this moment, a cold light came from behind Chen Yiban, who had just defeated Tsunade. It went straight to the fatal spot on the back of his head. In response, Chen Yiban tilted his head slightly and dodged. Then, he turned around as fast as lightning. Tut! The big hand wearing brown gloves easily grabbed the other person's throat. Chen Yiban saw that the other person was a woman. Purple hair. It was Mao Yu Shiyan. Do you want to dance too? Chen Yiban said calmly. Demon. Like the moonlight gale just now, Mao Yu Shiyan swung the sword in her hand towards Chen Yiban, who was right in front of her in a desperate struggle. However, as if history was reenacted, Chen Yiban caught the sword that was flying towards her. Then, puff! He directly pierced into Izuki Yugao's abdomen with his backhand. Immediately, blood flowed continuously. Blast! Mao Yu Shiyan's face was in great pain. In response, Chen Yiban threw the beautiful woman in his hand away. Kakashi and many other ninjas could only stare at her, unable to save her in time. The dying struggle. How ugly. Fire style. Dragon fire technique. Times at this time, more than a dozen Konoha ninjas released fire escape ninjutsu at the same time towards Chen Yiban in front of him. In response, Chen Yiban, who had just destroyed the flower Izuki Yugao, glanced coldly with his scarlet eyes of the eternal Mangekyo. Another trick of showing off one's proficiency in front of an expert. He was too lazy to activate Susanoo to defend himself. The next second, he took out another weapon besides the sickle from the system's internal space. It was Uchiha Fan. And, whoosh! He absorbed all of the dozens of dragon fire techniques. Then, he flipped the Uchiha Fan. Uchiha Milkshake. Boom! Rebound with even more violent fire escape power. Ah! In an instant, dozens of Konoha ninjas were killed. At this moment, Chen Yiban held a sickle in one hand and an Uchiha Fan in the other. Two classic weapons in hand. Invincible momentum. Bang 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 bang. What followed was another one-sided massacre. Kill 10 Konoha ninjas and achieve a primary achievement once. Congratulations. Get primary achievement lottery once. Killed 20 Konoha ninjas and achieved the primary achievement twice. Congratulations on getting primary achievement lottery twice. Behead. Chen Yiban had transformed into a demon and Shura on the battlefield. He slaughtered living beings crazily. It was as if all lives in front of him had become some data and tools for winning the achievement lottery. Just like the real Shura of the ninja world during the Warring States period, Uchiha Madara. Even worse than the Uchiha Madara in the original drama. Motor. Watching Chen Yiban slaughtering Konoha ninjas, Tsunade-sama once again kicked with a painful kick, with all her strength. In response, Chen Yiban just decapitated another Anbu ninja, then turned around and punched with extremely smooth movements. Bang! Punches and kicks clashed. Chen Yiban's punches were not at all inferior. How can I repair it? Seeing that the other party actually resisted her own painful kick with one punch, Tsunade was shocked, angry, and full of resentment. But before Tsunade could continue with other actions, boom! Chen Yiban directly pulled her white ankle, and then slammed her hard on the ground without mercy. Instantly, the ground sank into an extremely huge pit. The shock wave even knocked away many ninjas around. At this moment, even in the state of creation and regeneration of the 100 healings technique, Tsunade couldn't help but groan slightly in pain when she was hit in the mouth. The art of multiplication. A ninja from the Akamichi clan came forward after becoming huge, ready to rescue Tsunade. However, Chen Yiban did not even look at him and calmly made a seal. The next second, more than a dozen, shadow clone Chen Yiban, appeared one by one from the side. And, Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Each shadow clone released powerful blue chakra, condensing into Susanoo level 2. In this way, it blocked all Konoha ninjas including the Akamichi clan from approaching. At this moment, bang! Tsunade suddenly attacked Chen Yibin with a punch, but Chen Yibin leaned sideways and blocked it with one hand. He also grabbed Tsunade's white wrist, making it impossible for her to retreat. Tsunade used her chakra and burst out her strange power to break free. But she found that Chen Yibin's strength was greater than hers, and she couldn't pull back her fist at all. I said, the only one who can slightly suppress me is Haselama. But she is just a woman. Chen Yibin stared at Tsunade with contempt. In addition, when fighting with her, Chen Yibin temporarily put the weapon back into the system's internal space. During this period, Tsunade saw it and was also surprised. But now is not the time to care about these things. Shut up. Tsunade was angry because of what Chen Yibin said. She immediately raised her other fist and wanted to continue attacking Chen Yibin who was right in front of her. But, boom. She just raised her fist and didn't drop it yet. Chen Yibin's brown-gloved fist had already hit her stomach hard. Puff. Princess Tsunade instantly bent over and vomited blood. Although the 100 healing technique healed quickly, it was not as fast as the fierce punch of Chen Yibin. Hokage. Around them, Kakashi, Hyuga Hiyashi, Nara Shikaku and many other Konoha ninjas worried and shouted. However, Chen Yibin's dozen or so shadow clones all released, Susanoo staged 2 inches to protect them tightly. For a moment, no one could break through to rescue Tsunade. Too weak. Is this the so-called 5th generation Hokage? I saw that Chen Yibin had already grabbed Tsunade's throat, lifted her up with a painful face, and then mocked her like this. You. The huge pain in her stomach at the moment made Tsunade a little speechless. Looking at the pair of scarlet, eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, in Chen Yibin's eyes right in front of her, Tsunade couldn't help but feel a chill. I might need you next time. So, like the 9-tailed fox. Surrender. Chen Yibin slowly raised his 2 fingers and opened his pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He was indeed preparing to launch the eternal Mangekyo illusion on Princess Tsunade to control her. You. At this moment, even Tsunade couldn't help but feel an inexplicable fear in her heart. Big Ball Rasengan. Suddenly, with a shout, a swift figure came with a powerful attack and slammed into Chen Yibin. In this regard, Chen Yibin was just about to use Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan to control Tsunade, although he did not expect that someone could bypass the obstruction of his shadow clone. But when the opponent's attack finally landed on him, Chen Yibin still released the blue Susanoo skeleton in an instant. He defended. Of course, Chen Yibin was still pushed a long distance away by the sudden attack inside Susanoo. Is it him? In the Susanoo skeleton, Chen Yibin opened his scarlet, eternal kaleidoscope, and looked at the figure opposite him who had just blasted him away. Seeing that familiar yet strange figure, Chen Yibin was slightly surprised, but soon regained his cool expression. Jiraiya. I saw that Tsunade was looking at the figure in front of her with surprise. Gamma Sage. Here we go. That person, in a classic pose, appeared in front of everyone at the moment. He was indeed one of the 3 ninjas, like Tsunade. Toad Sage Jiraiya. Unexpectedly, after this guy found Tsunade and returned to Konoha to become the 5th Hokage, he still stayed in the village. Or did Jiraiya rush back after hearing something? Chen Yibin. Never mind. It doesn't matter. A mere Jiraiya can't change anything. The Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan stared coldly at Jiraiya who had just blasted his white hair with a big ball Rasengan. Chen Yibin's scarlet eyes were filled with murderous intent. Master Jiraiya. At this time, Kakashi also saw Jiraiya who just appeared here, and he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. After all, Jiraiya has the name of Sage, and his strength is beyond doubt. His arrival should reduce a lot of pressure on Kakashi and others. It's really Jiraiya-sama. Then, after seeing Jiraiya, many Konoha ninjas around them all showed joy on their faces. Even Hyuga Hiyashi, Nara Shikaku, Yuhi Kurenai, Mitarashi Anko and other Konoha Jonins couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Tsunade, cheer up. At this moment, Jiraiya looked back at Tsunade behind him. Oh, you don't need to tell me. Princess Tsunade smiled proudly. Then, she slowly stood up and walked to Jiraiya's side. The injuries that Chen Yibin had just caused to Tsunade had now been completely healed by the 100 healings technique. Be careful, Jiraiya. Because the enemy in front of you is likely to be the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya beside her and reminded him. This is really unbelievable. But, the other party's chakra that shocked me makes me believe it. Jiraiya smiled bitterly. At the same time, that is, Akai. Jiraiya saw the body of Might Guy behind Chen Yibin, under the cliff at the end of the huge ravine. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. Akaita. I opened all the gates of the 8 gates, but I still couldn't kill the motor in front of me. Tsunade clenched her fists and shouted in anger. What? Kai opened the death gate of the 8 gates of Dunjia. Jiraiya was even more shocked. And then, you still can't kill the enemy in front of you. As he said this, even Jiraiya couldn't help but look at Chen Yibin in front of him with a bit of disbelief. How could anyone survive the death gate? Who is the legendary Uchiha Madara? Jiraiya is no longer calm at this moment. Lecherous immortal. Uzumaki Naruto, who was blocked by a dozen shadow clones of Chen Yibin's Susanoo, also saw Jiraiya and shouted loudly. Lecherous immortal, quickly defeat that and avenge Mr. Thick Eyebrows and Uncle Asuma. Uzumaki Naruto continued to shout to Jiraiya from a distance. Naruto. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Tsunade beside him and said, Asuma, he is also. Yes. Princess Tsunade nodded. 3 generations of old men. Jiraiya suddenly couldn't help but summarize. Not long ago, the 3rd generation old man was killed by Orochimaru. Now, the old man's descendants are also the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. I'm really curious about what kind of strength he has. Finally, Jiraiya's face was filled with anger, staring at Chen Yibin in the blue Susanoo in front of him. At this time, swish 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 swish. Many ninjas from the Konoha route appeared on the periphery. And, swish. An old figure, with a strength stronger than other Konoha ninjas, secretly bypassed the blockade of Susanoo of Chen Yibin's dozen shadow clones, and finally landed on the ground next to Tsunade and Jiraiya at this moment. It was Shimura Danzo. This old actually showed up on his own initiative. Did he see that Tsunade was not performing well, so he wanted to come to the battlefield as Konoha's last helper? It's really ridiculous. This old man, at this time, is still thinking about the position of his favorite 5.5th Hokage. Danzo. In response, Tsunade and Jiraiya were also surprised to see Shimura Danzo appear. There are enemies coming to attack Konoha, how can I just ignore them? In front of all the Konoha ninjas, Shimura Danzo acted righteously. Tisk. Tsunade and Jiraiya couldn't help but roll their eyes. However, at this time, the more help the better. After all, the enemy in front of them is not an ordinary existence. The kid from the Shimura clan. At this time, looking at Shimura Danzo, Chen Yibin, who was holding his hands in Susanoo, suddenly spoke. Remember the time when I was with Haselama, when you not weaned yet? At this moment, you dare to speak nonsense in front of me. Chen Yibin opened his pair of blood-red eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and stared at Shimura Danzo not far away. Humph, I don't know how you can still survive and look so young. But your time has passed. I, Shimura Danzo, am no longer just a kid anymore. In response to Chen Yibin's disdain, Shimura Danzo responded with this. Is that so? Chen Yibin suddenly revealed a dark and evil smile. The next second, Chen Yibin and the dozen or so of his own shadow clones exchanged glances from a distance. Immediately, the dozen or so shadow clones Chen Yibin, that had been blocking the many Konoha ninjas from approaching immediately withdrew the second stage of Susanoo. Then, swish 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 swish. They all jumped up and stood beside Chen Yibin. Leave Konoha, or die. Chen Yibin's real body, with a pair of scarlet eternal kaleidoscopes, spoke so coldly at this moment. This was his last bit of mercy. This is impossible. Princess Tsunade maintained her attitude. In this regard, Jiraiya glanced at Tsunade beside him, then smiled and said, no matter what, I am a member of Konoha. At this moment, I, Gamma Sage, am willing to follow the instructions of the 5th Hokage. Jiraiya of course chose to support Tsunade. Root ninjas. Shimura Danzo just shouted so softly, and all the root ninjas outside came behind him. It goes without saying. Without Chen Yibin's shadow clones to block them, Kakashi, Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai, Hyuga Hiyashi and countless other Konoha Jonins and Anbu ninjas also came behind Tsunade and Jiraiya in due time. In this way, including Shimura Danzo, everyone seemed to have a common hatred for the enemy. In response, do you know? When people's attention is too focused on one person, your other blind spots will appear. Chen Yibin smiled at this moment, revealing a hint of conspiracy. Blind spot. What do you mean? Tsunade, Jiraiya, Shimura Danzo and others were all puzzled when they heard Chen Yibin's words. In response, Chen Yibin kept a wicked smile on his face and did not answer or explain. Humph, stop bluffing. Facing the ninjas of our entire Konoha, even if you are the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, you can't get away with it. Shimura Danzo seemed a little complacent. Uchiha Madara, the power he just showed was indeed extremely powerful. Even the 8 Gates Kai with the 8 Gates fully activated could not kill Uchiha Madara and was easily killed. However, Shimura Danzo slowly stroked his bandaged right hand with his left hand, and his right eye which was also bandaged. A surge of confidence suddenly began to surge in my heart. Even the eyes of this man in front of me are the best Uchiha pupil power. If you can get it. Shimura Danzo actually still thinks this way. Is that so? Chen Yibin still had a cold smile on his face. Seeing this, Jiraiya on the side felt inexplicably uneasy. The enemy in front of him was the legendary ninja, the former Shura of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara. Jiraiya felt that it was time to summon those two beings. Everyone, don't let your guard down, the other party may. At this time, Princess Tsunade wanted to remind the many Konoha ninjas around her. However, as Chen Yibin said, everyone focused their attention on Chen Yibin, and was very careful of him. But for a moment, no one thought. Pusha. 2 root ninjas, holding butcher knives, stood behind Shimura Danzo. One instantly cut off Shimura Danzo's right arm, and the other also beheaded Shimura Danzo at the same time. What? Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai and all the other Konoha ninjas were horrified. Until the headless body of Shimura Danzo, who was so proud just now, fell down. What are you doing? Tsunade just shouted angrily, staring at the 2 root ninjas who were holding Shimura Danzo's right arm and head. Lord Danzo. On the side, a group of root ninjas were also in disbelief. One of the 2 root ninjas holding Shimura Danzo's right arm and head suddenly burst out with powerful blue chakra. Then, a blue, several dozen meters tall, Susanoo level 3, instantly took shape, protecting the 2 of them inside the huge blue body. This is Susanoo. Tsunade was shocked by the sudden burst of Susanoo, and suddenly realized. It was actually the enemy pretending to be him. As expected. Shao, call out. The 2 root ninjas transformed into Chen Yibin, wearing red armor and with long flowing hair. They really were 2 clones of Chen Yibin. When Jiraiya couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Elder Danzo, actually. Yuhi Kurenai couldn't believe that Shimura Danzo, the elder of Konoha, was killed in an instant. Again. Do you really think I came to Konoha casually without any plan or preparation? On this side, Chen Yibin's real body saw that the shadow clone succeeded, so he sneered with his hands folded in front of him. As a time traveler, how could Chen Yibin not understand Konoha? How could he not know the secrets of Shimura Danzo? How could he not know that he possessed Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan? How could he not know that this old transplanted a full 10-3 Magatama Sharingans on his right arm to activate Uchiha's secretary Izanami? No. Chen Yibin knew it all. Therefore, before entering Konoha, that is, before coming, Chen Yibin already had a preliminary plan in his mind. Shimura Danzo and Hachiman Kai, these 2 people. Chen Yibin had considered all of this. Chen Yibin had actually released these 2 shadow clones long before the battle and hid them in the crowd. Just now, they transformed into root ninjas with the jutsu and blended directly into the group of root ninjas behind Shimura Danzo. Until the plan succeeded. Shimura Danzo was killed. It has to be said. Chen Yibin is also an old scoundrel. It is mainly as Chen Yibin said. Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi and others are too concerned about Chen Yibin's situation. They don't think about it at all. The companions around you may be enemies. Even Danzo, who was beheaded at this moment, realized this at the moment of his death. Unfortunately, it was too late. How could the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara do such a shameless thing? At this time, Mitarashi Anko stared at Chen Yibin's real body and the two shadow clones of Chen Yibin with a look of extreme indignation. However, as a ninja, Mitarashi Anko's words at this moment were a bit hypocritical. Quote, "This is how he looks like a villain. Isn't it?" Chen Yibin smiled slightly. "Do you really think you can dance in front of me, a coward like you?" The shadow clone of Chen Yibin, who was holding the head of Shimura Danzo, looked at the head of Danzo in his hand with contempt. Die with eyes open. Izanagi, he didn't have time to activate. The same is true for Koto Amatsukami. Perhaps Danzo did not expect. Chen Yibin is just like him, he has the attributes of an old shady guy. In fact, Chen Yibin is even more shady than Shimura Danzo. Give me back the body of Danzo. At this moment, Jiraiya suddenly attacked. He fired a Rasengan to attack Chen Yibin's shadow clones, Susanoo Stage 3. Bang! Unfortunately, even the first stage Susanoo cannot be broken by ordinary Rasengan. Not to mention the third stage Susanoo. It has no effect except for making a noise. Instead, the third stage Susanoo knocked Jiraiya back with one punch, and then the other blue giant hand instantly condensed the 8-plate Magatama, that was used not long ago, and threw it at Jiraiya in front of him. Swish! The speed and power of the 8-plate Magatama were extremely strong. Facing this attack, even Jiraiya was shocked. Fortunately, he managed to dodge it in the end. However, the distance was too close and it was a bit sudden, and Jiraiya's arm was cut by the Yada no Magatama, at the moment he dodged sideways. Blood immediately flowed. Jiraiya, are you okay? Seeing Jiraiya retreating, Tsunade stepped forward and asked with concern. During this time, she did not slack off in her movements, and used the palm magic to quickly heal Jiraiya's arm injury. It must be said here, fortunately, Tsunade's blood phobia just happened to be cured not long ago, otherwise, let alone treating Jiraiya, she would probably tremble all over at the sight of blood. It's just a minor injury. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade in front of him and tried to force a smile. On the other side, Earth Escape, Fire Style, Lightning Escape, The Art of Multiplication, 8 Diagram Palm, Kakashi, Mitarashi Red Bean, Yuhi Kurenai and other Konoha Jonins and many Anbu ninjas were bombarding the nearest Susanoo with various ninjutsu. Quote, Ha! Chen Yibin, the two shadow clones of Susanoo's third level, simply disdained them. Boom. The two shadow clones controlled the several dozen meters tall Susanoo third stage and walked towards Chen Yibin's main body not far away. During this time, various ninjutsu were bombarded on Susanoo third stage, but it was completely useless. Until it got annoyed, the shadow clone moved his mind, and Susanoo third stage directly threw out the 8-board Magatama, and the chakra power slashed it. Ah! The Konoha ninjas suffered heavy casualties again. Seeing that Chen Yibin's shadow clones were so powerful and killed countless Konoha ninjas. Ninjutsu. Yellow Spring Swamp. Jiraiya immediately used one of his special ninjutsu. Suddenly. Whoosh! The Susanoo level 3 that was wrapped around the two shadow clones of Chen Yibin, which was originally heading towards the main body, suddenly sank. The two shadow clones looked down. Seeing the ground become like a swamp, a quagmire, slowly began to sink Susanoo completely. It even seemed to swallow the whole Susanoo. This move was used by Jiraiya to deal with Orochimaru's summoning beast, many snakes, in the original play. Unexpectedly, it was used on Susanoo at this moment, and it also had a miraculous effect. Everyone, hurry up now. Seeing that Susanoo level 3 was blocked, Tsunade immediately waved her hand and shouted to the countless Konoha ninjas around her. Suddenly, countless Konoha ninjas released a series of ninjutsu and attacked Susanoo level 3 trapped in the Yellow Spring Swamp. There were wind escape, fire escape, water escape and so on. Bang bang bang. In the end, although the Susanoo 3 was not broken, it was really beaten to lose its balance and fell down. In this way, the Yellow Spring Swamp was about to swallow up the entire Susanoo 3. This thing is really big. Jiraiya continued to release chakra, increasing the power of the Yellow Spring Swamp. It was as if he was determined to swallow the entire Susanoo third stage. Go to hell. Finally, it was Tsunade who made the final move, leaping high up and then falling from the sky, punching Susanoo hard. This completely sent Susanoo into the yellow spring swamp. Tsunade jumped up again at the last second and returned to everyone. Grandma Tsunade, siege. On the side, Uzumaki Naruto couldn't help but clench his fist and said happily. Tsunade also responded with a charming smile. At this time, many Konoha ninjas showed their smiles. Really, it was not easy. They finally won. Tsunade, the battle is not over yet. At this moment, Jiraiya suddenly spoke. All the people who were just delighted were suddenly awakened. Then, they looked across the huge ravine. Sure enough, Chen Yibin's real body was still standing there alive. It was just a shadow clone of the opponent. Moreover, at this moment, there were more than 10 shadow clones around Chen Yibin's real body. Ha ha. How can it be repaired? Some ninjas couldn't help but smile in despair. They couldn't beat him. They couldn't beat him at all. The legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara, was too strong. It was like they were not from the same dimension at all. They, the Konoha ninjas, couldn't compete with him at all. They were powerless. They were really full of powerlessness. In response to this, did you find it? Just now, I was embarrassed to say anything to disturb your ecstasy. Chen Yibin, in his own, Susanoo's second stage, folded his hands in front of him, and looked at the hundreds of Konoha ninjas opposite with such a mocking face. Seeing them defeat one of his shadow clones, he was so happy as if he had really won. Chen Yibin really feels interesting and funny. Don't be so proud of yourself. Uzumaki Naruto said angrily. Ha! Chen Yibin's original body smiled coldly and disdainfully. Then, you too. How long will it take? Chen Yibin suddenly said inexplicably. The Konoha ninjas were a little confused when they heard this. Could it be? Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Nara Shikaku and others thought of something. But before they could do anything. Boom. On the side, the yellow spring swamp, which had just swallowed a whole Susanoo third level and was reinforced and sealed by Jiraiya, exploded. Yellow smoke rose up. Jungdong. Until two huge blue bodies of several dozen meters in length crawled out of the yellow spring swamp. Everyone at the scene was just in a state of confusion. Just now, one was sealed. At this moment, two actually ran out. Oh, yes, there were indeed two shadow clones of Chen Yibin in the Susanoo just now. But do you want to play like this? Swish 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 swish. At this moment, the huge, Susanoo Senkei, controlled by the two shadow clones, which had just jumped out of the yellow spring swamp, seemed to be taking revenge and continued to slaughter the Konoha ninjas in all directions. Continuously blasting out. Suddenly. Many Konoha ninjas were killed and wounded. Stop it. Jiraiya angrily made a seal and then shouted. Fire style. Fire dragon flame bullet. Swish. 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 Three huge fire dragons attacked from the front, left, and right, attacking the two Susanoo level 3. Fire style. Great fire annihilation. Times 2. The two Chen Yibin shadow clones in the two Susanoo third level slowly formed seals, and then spit out surging flames from their mouths. Like gunpowder coming out of a bore, it instantly broke through Jiraiya's fire dragon flame bomb. Then, burning countless Konoha ninjas. Even Jiraiya's original fire dragon power was borrowed to burn his own people in Konoha. Water escape. Jiraiya's face was full of surprise and anger, and he quickly used a large-scale water escape ninjutsu to resist the terrifying fire arrows of Great Fire Extinction. At this moment, the Konoha ninjas who knew water escape also used water escape at this moment. In the end, they barely resisted the terrifying high-temperature fire arrows of the two shadow clones of Chen Yibin. However, a large amount of steam appeared at the scene, covering everyone's sight in front. No one could see the huge body of Susanoo 3. Return to heaven. It was not until the Hyuga clan members released their secret technique together at this moment that they were able to dispel all the steam that blocked their vision. The powerful secret technique of the Hyuga clan has now fallen to this point. Facing the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, no one can hold back, and the vision cannot be lost. Bang bang. At this moment, the two clones of Chen Yibin had already jumped to the side of Chen Yibin's original body. Quote. Then, After removing the Susanoo, the two shadow clones handed the things in their hands to the original Chen Yiban. And what they handed to Chen Yiban at this moment was exactly the entire right arm and the entire head of Shimura Danzo. Too slow. Chen Yiban, the real body, said calmly. His hands did not slow down. He first grabbed Shimura Danzo's right arm. 10 Sharingan from the Uchiha clan, all 3 Magatama. Without saying anything, Chen Yiban directly saved the results into the internal space of the achievement sign-in system. In addition, this is Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan Koto Amatsukami. After breaking the bandage on the right eye of Shimura Danzo's head, Chen Yiban opened his pair of eternal Mangekyos and saw someone else's right eye Mangekyo Sharingan. It was Shimura Danzo in the original drama who took away Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Koto Amatsukami. The power of the pupils does seem to be a little special. That is Elder Danzo's head and arm, but why? Why does the Uchiha clan have the Sharingan? That is Shisui, it's Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan. At this time, countless Konoha ninjas were shocked. Looking at Chen Yiban's hand, Shimura Danzo's head, and the many scarlet eyes on his arms. Many Konoha ninjas were stunned. Even the Hyuga clan members with good eyesight saw with their Byakugan that the Mangekyo Sharingan, once known as Shunshin Shisui, was on Shimura Danzo's right eye. How could it be possible that the elder of Konoha had the Uchiha Sharingan? Even the Mangekyo of Uchiha Shisui. It turned out to be Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan. Hinata Hiyashi also rolled his eyes at this moment, and saw the right eye on the head of Shimura Danzo held by Chen Yiban in the distance. It was Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan. That Danzo, Tsunade and Jiraiya both thought of something at once. They couldn't help but curse out loud. On the side. How could it be that are Uchiha's eyes? Uchiha Sasuke, at this moment, looked at the head of Shimura Danzo in Chen Yiban's hand and the arm full of Sharingan on his right arm that had just mysteriously disappeared. The second Pilar's face was shocked and unbelievable at first. Then, he was extremely angry. It's easy to guess where Shimura Danzo got so many Sharingan on his right arm. Uchiha, Knight of Extermination. Uchiha Sasuke clenched his fists in anger. In response, are you shocked? At this time, Chen Yiban had already taken away Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan Koto Amatsukami, and then threw the head of Shimura Danzo to the sky, and looked at the shocked Konoha ninjas opposite. Especially Uchiha Sasuke. Then, don't be shocked. Don't be surprised. Because, since the founding of Konoha, it has always owed Uchiha. Now, it has simply turned from a debt to persecution. In the spotlight, Chen Yiban put the other gods into the system's internal space and spoke in a cold voice. Stop talking nonsense and misleading people. Princess Tsunade shouted in retort. Chen Yiban's pair of scarlet eternal kaleidoscopes did not look at her, but unexpectedly looked at Uchiha Sasuke, who was angry and shocked at this moment. You should be one of the few remaining Uchiha. How about it? Uchiha Jr., do you want to come over to me? Chen Yiban smiled and opened his cold eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, looking at the second pillar at this moment, and suddenly said to him. Izuna. Looking at Uchiha Sasuke's face that was extremely similar to someone in his current memory, Chen Yiban's heart was slightly moved. Sasuke will never be with someone like you. Uzumaki Naruto stood up with an indignant look on his face. Is that so? Chen Yiban's eternal kaleidoscope still only looked at Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke was obviously a little hesitant. He was indeed moved by Chen Yiban's words. It was normal. The current Uchiha Sasuke was eager for power. And Chen Yiban showed invincible power from beginning to end. What's more, in the eyes of everyone at this moment, Chen Yiban is Uchiha Madara. The same is true for Uchiha Sasuke. So, this is a sense of intimacy from the same clan. In contrast, Shimura Danzo, as an elder of Konoha, took the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan that was exterminated. Sasuke had originally wanted to leave Konoha and go find Orochimaru. Now, after hearing what Chen Yiban said, how could Sasuke not be tempted? Chen Yiban also noticed Urzuzi's intention and immediately smiled. Then, all the shadow clones around him disappeared in an instant, and all the power was once again concentrated on Chen Yiban's real body. I'll ask you one last time. Leave Konoha, or choose to die. Standing in the second-level body of Susanoo, Chen Yiban, with his eyes filled with eternal kaleidoscopes, looked so cold at this moment. Mata, what on earth do you want to do? Jiraiya shouted. Jiraiya, there is no point in talking to such a person. Let's fight together. Tsunade said at the side. At the same time, ninja technique, summoning psychic technique. Poof. As Tsunade bit her thumb and slapped the ground, a huge white mist suddenly appeared. Immediately afterwards, everyone at the scene saw. Tsunade folded her arms and stood on top of a super slug that suddenly appeared on the scene and was nearly 100 meters long. That is, Tsunade-sama's summoning beast, the slug. Looking at the huge summoning beast, the slug, Kakashi on the field couldn't help but speak out. It was at that time. Uzumaki Naruto recalled the scene of Tsunade and Jiraiya fighting against Orochimaru not long ago. This was also the second time Naruto saw the summoning beast slug. Tsunade. Seeing that Tsunade had already used the psychic technique to summon the slug, Jiraiya couldn't help but smile softly. Then, ninja technique, summoning spirits. Jiraiya bit his thumb and pressed the ground. The giant psychic toad, Gamabunta, appears. Skay. So big. As expected, they are two of the legendary three ninjas. So strong. Great. We still have hope. However, the surrounding Konoha ninjas were like drowning people grabbing a life-saving straw, desperately looking for hope of survival. This scene is really a bit nostalgic. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade on the top of the giant slug next to him and couldn't help but sigh. Among the three ninjas, there is still one person missing. Jiraiya, why did you call me here again? At this moment, Gamabunta looked at Jiraiya standing above his head with a bit of displeasure. He almost couldn't help but throw him down. Lady Tsunade, we meet again. The slug is much gentler. Huh, even the slugs are calling out. And this is Konoha, right? Jiraiya, what kind of enemy did you encounter here? Seeing the slugs, Gamabunta went from being unhappy to being a little surprised. At the same time, he took a look at the current environment. Then, when was this brand new gutter that is more than 1,000 meters long and nearly 100 meters wide built? Quote. Is this really Konoha? Bunta was a little confused. Bunta, slug. You two look at the person opposite you, can you recognize who that is? Jiraiya stood on the head of Toad Bunta, and said in a serious voice. Times two. After hearing this, Wentai and Slug were stunned for a moment. Then, they looked at the It looks familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere before. Wentai smacked his lips and muttered. I feel like the other party is very powerful. The slug also said at the right time. Etc. This is. Suddenly, Gamabunta thought of something. It seemed that Gamabunta finally thought of something. Then, the pipe in his mouth, which looked a bit pretentious, suddenly fell to the ground. Gamabunta looked at Chen Yiban opposite with a look of shock and disbelief. How can it be? Shouldn't he have? The huge toad Bunta spoke in doubt. Did you recognize who the man opposite is? The slug didn't react. Intel. Uchiha Motor. He is the legendary ninja Uchiha Mata. Someone in the crowd couldn't help but shout loudly at this moment. Nah. What? Hearing this, the slug trembled all over. Really Uchiha? Toad Wen was completely shocked. Jiraiya, what's going on? Could it be that the other party is really the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara? At this time, Gamabunta no longer had the arrogance he had when he first appeared in front of Jiraiya. It can even be seen that Gamabunta at this moment seems to be a little panic. It should be the legendary one. As for why he is still alive, I can only say that I don't know much about it now. Jiraiya shook his head. Then he smiled bitterly and said, it's really a headache. If it is really the legendary Uchiha Madara. That is not just a headache, Jiraiya. To be honest, Gamabunta wanted to withdraw at this time. Although Myoboku Mountain is very close to Jiraiya and Konoha, and he is Jiraiya's summoning beast. But, Nima. Let Gamabunta fight the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara. Do you know what the battle between Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara was like? Beat him. No kidding. Lady Tsunade, the man opposite. Really are. The slug's tone was a little strange at the moment, and he asked softly, what about Tsunade above my head? Living snail, Konoha's ninjas, please save him. Tsunade clenched her fists and stared at Chen Yiban opposite her. Gulu. The slug took another dim look at Chen Yibin standing opposite him, then couldn't help but swallow nervously. Good. Okay, Lady Tsunade. As he said that, he immediately split himself up, turning his huge body of 100 meters into small slugs. Then, he began to crawl towards the many injured Konoha ninjas in all directions. Just now, facing Chen Yibin, Konoha's ninjas suffered countless casualties. There were dead, seriously injured, and slightly injured. At this moment, the slugs really came in handy. However, after splitting off many sub-bodies, the size of the slug under Princess Tsunade became less than 30 meters. Seeing this scene, you really can't recognize the reality and are resisting stubbornly. On the opposite side, Chen Yibin, wearing red armor and long flowing hair, folded his arms, and his scarlet eternal Mangekyo Sharingan looked at Jiraiya and Tsunade and their summoning beasts. Those eyes. It's just like the legend says. Gamabunta saw the pattern of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in Chen Yibin's eyes, and the last bit of luck in his heart disappeared. Immediately, Gamabunta looked up at Jiraiya above his head. Jiraiya, what are you waiting for? Why don't you just call the boss and the big sister over here, and then enter the sage mode? The person on the other side is very likely the legendary one. In this regard, Gamabunta doesn't think that the people here can compete with the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. The only way is to summon the two great toad sages of Myoboku Mountain, who are also his two superiors, and then let Jiraiya enter the sage mode. In this way, there may be a glimmer of hope. Hey! Boss Toad! Suddenly, Uzumaki Naruto saw Gamabunta and waved to him. Shut up, brat! Gamabunta glanced at Uzumaki Naruto unhappily. He was in no mood to pay attention to Naruto at this moment. At the same time, Bunta, I know. I summoned you first because I wanted you to block the guy on the opposite side, and then I will summon the two big toad sages. Jiraiya looked at the huge toad Bunta under him and said so. Jiraiya. Should I thank you for thinking so highly of me? Gamabunta gnashed his teeth a little. Ha. I'm really a little embarrassed. Stupid, hurry up. If he is really Uchiha Madara, how long do you think I, Gamabunta, can hold him off? Gamabunta shouted angrily. Live slug, let's buy some time for Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at the 30-meter-long slug below her and said. Okay, Master Tsunade. The slug nodded. During this time, the two summoning beasts, Slug and Gamabunta, were huge and seemed to be fearless of all living things. But, at this moment, Slug and Gamabunta stared at Chen Yibin with a guilty conscience. They were afraid that the other party would make some moves that they had not noticed. Afraid. Maybe. Facing this legendary person, who among the ninjas in the entire ninja world, except for the legendary ninja god, Senju Hashirama, would not be afraid. It's better to forget it. This game should actually end. Just as Jiraiya and Gamabunta were discussing it, Chen Yibin suddenly spoke coldly. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Chen Yibin slowly loosened his arms that were originally folded in front of his chest. Next, I will show you. What is Uchiha Madara's power and God's power? For real. Susanoo. Complete form. With a pair of blood-red eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Chen Yibin had a cold expression on his face. In fact, the next second, he said. The terrifying pupil power combined with the powerful chakra, the blue power madly emerged from Chen Yibin's body. Stop. In an instant, a Susanoo complete form with a body size of more than 230 meters, stood between heaven and earth. It appeared in front of everyone in Konoha. The size of Susanoo complete form was so huge that even if you were standing at the outermost part of Konoha village, you could see its incomparably huge size. With two eternal Mangekyo Sharingan gathered, Susanoo complete form. The size of the body now exceeded 230 meters. It was nearly 100 meters higher than the 140 meters of the eternal kaleidoscope just now. This. At the scene, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai, Mitarashi Anko, Nara Shikaku, Hyuga Hiyashi and countless other Konoha ninjas stared with wide eyes. Good. Very big. The psychic slug made a dumbfounded sound. Jiraiya, I really want to thank you for 8 generations of ancestors. The pipe that Gamabunta had just picked up fell again. Asshole, do you have to be so exaggerated? Gamabunta, who was over 50 meters in size, was looking at the 230-meter-long Susanoo complete form in front of him with a look of shock. As a summoned beast, although a little smaller than a slug, Gamabunta thought he was big enough. However, looking at the Susanoo complete form in front of him at this moment, Gamabunta said, okay, okay. I am your younger brother. During. How? How come? Tsunade-sama was also in disbelief at this moment. She couldn't believe that Chen Yibin's power was so terrifying. The 140-meter Susanoo's complete form of the single-eyed eternal Mangekyo was already amazing enough, and now more than 230 meters. It's outrageous. The Susanoo just now was in its perfect form. I think the slug and Gamabunta should be able to fight together. If Jiraiya enters the Sage mode again, there will definitely be more hope. But now this. I feel like I can crush all of these people and the spirit beasts to death with one kick. It's outrageous. The only one who can stop me is Hashirama. Unfortunately, he is no longer in the human world. In the diamond-shaped crystal on the head of the supergiant Susanoo, Chen Yibin's voice rang out. During this time, while speaking, a giant hand of the Susanoo perfect body pressed down on the Susanoo sword at his waist. Then, boom! The sword slashed out like a sword. The blue-white blade light flashed like a terrifying thunder, and it rushed straight to all the Konoha ninjas on the opposite side. No, hurry up! Tsunade and Jiraiya were both horrified. But they didn't have time to say anything more, as they saw. There were constant screams. But more people were turned into ashes directly under the sword light. They couldn't even make a scream. Puff. After Jiraiya was blown away, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, he felt a sharp pain on the right side of his body. Then he saw that his entire right hand was cut off and worn out. Because at the last moment, Jiraiya pushed Tsunade away with his right hand. Although Jiraiya finally avoided the shocking sword in time, his entire right hand was gone. Bang! On the other side, Gamabunta, who had dodged the fatal sword in time by leaping for a frog, was still blown away by the terrifying force of the sword and crashed into many houses in Konoha. Cough cough. Then, Gamabunta was also injured and coughed up blood. He couldn't even hold the knife in his hand. Asshole. Almost. You're going to kill me. Gamabunta complained weakly while coughing up blood. On the other side, Tsunade was pushed away by Jiraiya in time, and because of the 100 healings technique, she seemed to be fine at the moment and stood up from the ruined Konoha ground. Then, she stared at the Konoha in front of her with wide eyes like an idiot. There was an abyss about 70 meters wide, several kilometers long, and bottomless. At this moment, it was across the entire Konoha. It really split the entire Konoha in two. During this time, there were many broken limbs and arms of Konoha ninjas on both sides of the abyss, which were constantly falling into the abyss. This scene. Tsunade saw that his eyes were filled with red bloodshot. Lady Tsunade. On the side, the summoning beast slug came to Tsunade. Because it can split, the slug should have suffered the least trauma. But it is not completely without damage. At least many of its own offspring that split out at the beginning were evaporated into nothingness under the shocking sword just now. At this moment, when it came to Tsunade, the slug also saw the bottomless abyss in front of it. There are also countless broken limbs. The slug was so frightened that he was speechless. Shikamaru. On the side, Ino and Choji looked at their partner who had lost all signs of life on the ground, tears streaming down their faces. Sorry. The slug's offspring can't save the dead. Soon, the still-living Nara Shikaku covered his injured abdomen, slowly walked over, then squatted down and quietly looked at his dead son in front of him. On the other side, it was actually Neji. Tenten and Lee looked at Hyuga Neji on the ground in disbelief. It seemed that just now, in order to reduce the danger for Lee and Tenten, Hyuga Neji used all his strength to restore the sky at the critical moment. Then, Lee and Tenten survived, but Neji himself was injured and died. A slug split beside him was also helpless. However, there was one place where the damage was the least. That was Kakashi. Hitaki Kakashi removed the huge earth flow wall. Then, he and his 3 disciples behind him, Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura, looked at the scene around them in shock. Especially the abyss that cut through Konoha, the bottomless gap. Such power, can his own earth flow wall block it? Kakashi noticed that the damage on his side was the least. Could it be Sasuke? Kakashi looked at Uchiha Sasuke beside him in surprise, and thinking of what Chen Yibin had just said to Sasuke, he couldn't help but guess so. The only reason that could explain this was that he was holding back on someone from the same Uchiha clan. This power. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke looked at the power of the sword that cut through Konoha. He couldn't believe it. Was this the power that humans could possess? Could the legendary ninja, the strongest patriarch of his clan, be so powerful? He simply couldn't believe that the scene before his eyes was real. How did the village become like this? Haruno Sakura stared blankly at Konoha being split in two. Next to her, Uzumaki Naruto had already run out of control. Soon, Shikamaru. Uzumaki Naruto saw the body of Nara Shikamaru. Besides, Hyuga Neji. Naruto-kun. Not far away, Hyuga Hinata walked over here with her father Hyuga Hiyashi. Then, she saw Hyuga Neji lying on the ground covered in blood, and she covered her mouth in shock. Lustful immortal. Turning his head, the already angry Uzumaki Naruto was surprised to see Jiraiya, who had lost his entire right arm. Lecherous immortal. Uzumaki Naruto immediately rushed over and supported Jiraiya. Lecherous fairy, you. Having just seen the death of Shikamaru and Neji, Uzumaki Naruto was inexplicably afraid that the lecherous sage would also die. The bloody scene on Jiraiya's right side was too scary. Ha ha ha, don't worry, I'm the Toad Sage Jiraiya, I won't die like this. Jiraiya forced a laugh and reached out to touch Naruto's head. At this moment, there were already 2 tear marks on Uzumaki Naruto's face. Then, the still-alive Kakashi, Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai, Hinata Hiyashi, Nara Shikaku and others, gathered together again. At this time, Ding Dong, Jungdong. Susanoo, in its complete form, took extremely heavy steps, approaching the last surviving Konoha ninjas step by step. Asshole. Uzumaki Naruto's eyes began to turn red. Jungdong. Susanoo's complete form kept moving forward, approaching the remaining Konoha ninjas step by step. Its huge body brought with it an equally powerful aura. Some ninjas at the scene could not help but retreat, and some even collapsed on the ground. We can't win at all. Some Konoha ninjas began to despair. Seeing that Susanoo complete form with a body size of more than 230 meters walking towards them step by step without haste, countless ninjas felt despair. The strength is not even in the same dimension. Shiri Hong couldn't help but kneel on the ground with tears in her beautiful eyes. Asshole. During this time, Tsunade looked at the entire Konoha that was cut in half by the terrible sword, gritting her teeth, but she was desperate and helpless. Kakashi, without saying a word, also felt a deep sense of powerlessness in his heart. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara was too powerful. They were simply not someone they could contend with. Finally, Susanoo complete, standing in front of all the remaining Konoha ninjas. The terrifying momentum was overwhelming, leaving countless Konoha ninjas at the scene without any courage to resist. Finally. Are you not going to resist anymore? In the diamond-shaped crystal on the head of the super giant Susanoo, Chen Yibin, who was wearing red armor, clasped his hands and spoke coldly. But just as Chen Yibin finished his words, roar. A wild beast-like roar resounded throughout the ruined Konoha. Quote. Oh. Chen Yibin looked down from above and saw a figure that had lost control. He couldn't help but smile with interest. 4 nine-tailed demon fox tails have appeared behind Uzumaki Naruto. He has entered the beast state. Little boy, in order to stop being a puppet of that Madara, I will help you this time. Inside the body of 4-tailed Naruto, Kurama said. It's Naruto. Kakashi turned around and saw the red beast figure. Naruto. The person closest to the 4-tailed Naruto at this time is Jiraiya, who has lost his arm. But Jiraiya is now a little powerless to stop Naruto from losing control. Moreover, if Naruto regards the Susanoo in front of him as an enemy, it might be good to lose control for a while. And just as Jiraiya was thinking, it is indeed seen that the 4-tailed Naruto really went for the super huge Susanoo complete form in front of him. Interesting. In the crystal on Susanoo's head, Chen Yibin smiled faintly. Roar. 4-tailed Naruto, in front of everyone's surprised eyes, roared with his hands and feet running on the ground. He burst out with overwhelming speed and strength, and violently attacked the super giant Susanoo in full form. Bang! However, a giant claw transformed from the chakra of a tailed beast attacked the huge calf of Susanoo complete form, but it only made a slight sound. It's a bit itchy. At Susanoo's head, Chen Yibin opened his eternal kaleidoscope, folded his arms and smiled contemptuously. The four-tailed Naruto seemed to be getting more and more angry. After he roared to the sky again, the fifth tail appeared. Instantly, the more terrifying tailed beast chakra clothes enveloped Uzumaki Naruto at this moment. The whole body was full of beast nature. At the same time, the skin on Uzumaki Naruto's body began to peel off a little. That is, Naruto. On the side, Uchiha Sasuke was shocked to see Uzumaki Naruto, who was full of powerful tailed beast chakra. He couldn't believe that Uzumaki Naruto actually had such a terrifying chakra power. Naruto. Haruno Sakura also looked very surprised. This is the fifth tail. You can't continue, Naruto. Kakashi was confused and worried. Naruto, cough cough. Jiraiya was already seriously injured at this moment, and he coughed up blood when he spoke. Naruto. Princess Tsunade looked at Naruto with 5 tails, her eyes were complicated. She knew that if all 9 tails came out, Naruto would be doomed. But, facing such a terrifying enemy as the legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara, it seemed that he should fight to the death, right? So, thinking about it, Princess Tsunade looked at Naruto with 5 tails, her eyes were extremely complicated. Looking at Jiraiya who was seriously injured and had a broken arm. Princess Tsunade felt that at this time, Naruto's power might really be the last hope of Konoha. Jiraiya, hold on. Tsunade soon recovered from her despair and came to Jiraiya. Then, she used her superb medical ninjutsu to heal Jiraiya. In response, Tsunade, help me. Jiraiya looked at the beloved woman in front of him and pleaded. Hearing this, Tsunade, who was already healing Jiraiya and looking at the broken arm with doubt in her heart, could not help but be slightly stunned. Responding, Tsunade seemed to understand something and wiped the blood from Jiraiya's broken arm with her hand. Seeing this, knowing that Tsunade understood his thoughts, Jiraiya could not help but smile despite the pain. Then, ninja technique, the art of summoning spirits. On the other side, Naruto, who now has 5 tails, is transformed into a beast, and his power is still surging. Soon, the 6th tail appears. The terrifying beast-like roar from Naruto's mouth resounded throughout Konoha, shocking countless people. Naruto, Sasuke and Haruno Sakura were also very surprised. There are 6 tails now. If this continues, Kakashi was worried about his apprentice, but he was powerless at this moment. 6-tailed Naruto opened his mouth and began to rapidly condense the tailed beast ball towards Susanoo's perfect form. Soon, a tailed beast ball was fired directly at the huge Susanoo perfect form in front of him. It hit the huge blue calf of the Susanoo perfect form. This time, Chen Yibin's Susanoo perfect form's foot moved back a little. But that was it. Ha! Chen Yibin folded his arms and watched quietly. He was waiting for Naruto to explode with his 9 tails and lose control completely. At that time, it would be the time to put a collar on the 9-tailed demon fox. At this time, a crystal necklace on Naruto's neck began to emit energy, trying to restrain Naruto at this moment. Or to suppress Naruto's loss of control at this moment. But, crack! Just like the scene in the original drama when pain invaded Konoha, Naruto with 6 tails grabbed the necklace around his neck and crushed it with a light squeeze. Suddenly, the power of the seal disappeared in an instant. Roar! Behind Naruto, the 7th tail slowly emerged. 7 tails. Looking at the beast-like Naruto with 7 tails, Kakashi was very suspicious. As soon as the 7 tails appeared, a layer of bone coat began to appear on the out-of-control Naruto. Further strengthened the defense. Roar! Afterwards, he roared and rushed to the feet of the super giant, Susanoo complete form. He swung his claws at a very fast speed, attacking the Susanoo perfect form. During this time, the tailed beast ball was also like it was free and kept bombarding the Susanoo perfect form in front of him. However, it could not cause any effective damage to the super huge Susanoo perfect form. Instead, Kaka. When Naruto with 7 tails climbed up along the huge body of Susanoo's complete form, Chen Yibin had an idea. Susanoo's big hand immediately firmly grasped the out-of-control beast like Uzumaki Naruto. Roar. Naruto the Seven-Tailed was still roaring at Chen Yibin in Susanoo's hand. Oh, you danced well. But, I have no patience anymore. Chen Yibin said coldly with his eyes full of eternal kaleidoscopes. Then, Nine-Tailed Fox. I'll just put the collar on you like this. He formed a seal with his 2 fingers, preparing to use the power of the eternal Mangekyo on Naruto the Seven-Tailed. He would completely stimulate the power of the tailed beast in Naruto's body, and use it to catch the 9-tailed demon fox in his body. Just. Super Big Ball Rasengan. Suddenly, a figure jumped up and hit Susanoo's huge wrist with a bang. Although it couldn't break Susanoo's big hand, it still made Susanoo loosen his grip and let Naruto escape. Chen Yibin's eyes narrowed and he looked coldly. It was Jiraiya. But Jiraiya was in a completely different state at the moment. He looked a little ugly. Like a toad. There were also 2 small figures standing on his shoulders. Have you entered Sage Mode? Chen Yibin frowned slightly. He was a little unhappy with the other party's interference just now. At this moment, boom boom boom, 3 huge figures, each holding a huge weapon, suddenly attacked the legs of the Susanoo perfect form. When Chen Yibin relaxed and had no intention of resisting, the Susanoo perfect form took a small step back. Then, Chen Yibin looked down with his pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. 3 huge toads came into view. It turned out to be the 3 brothers Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and Gamaken in the original play. Gamabunta had just been summoned by Jiraiya. The other 2, as well as the 2 small toads on Jiraiya's shoulders at this time, were obviously the toads from Myoboku Mountain who had just been summoned. You're in the way. Chen Yibin said coldly. Then he kicked out suddenly. Bang bang bang. Wow. The 3 big toads immediately flew backwards, and finally fell to the ground in a mess. The 3 of us attacked at the same time with all our strength, but the big guy only took a small step back. But it's random attack. The 3 brothers, Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and Gamaken, who were lying on the ground in a panic, looked at the Susanoo in front of them, which was 4 or 5 times taller than them. Immortal technique. Frog croaking. At this moment, the 2 toad sages on Jiraiya's shoulders launched the magic of Myoboku Mountain. Wow wow wow. Suddenly, the sound of illusion began to hit Chen Yibin on the Susanoo full form. However, Susanoo full form was too tall. The power of the frog croak was greatly reduced. What's more, Chen Yibin, who possessed the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and the incomparably powerful power of the spiritual world, was not afraid of the frog croak at all. Shut up. Chen Yibin shouted coldly. Then he wanted to chop out the Susanoo sword and kill Jiraiya. But, a tailed beast ball that was countless times larger than the previous one suddenly blasted towards Susanoo's complete form from the side. Chen Yibin couldn't help but change his strategy and slashed at the tailed beast ball that was blasting towards him from the side with his sword. The tailed beast jade was cut open, and a terrifying explosion suddenly erupted. A mushroom cloud rose quietly. Swish. In the crystal of Susanoo's head, Chen Yibin was unharmed and controlled Susanoo's big hand to slap the air. The smoke and dust were blown away. Suddenly, the beast like Naruto with 8 tails appeared. 9-tailed fox, do you think you can escape? Come here and submit to my pupil power. Chen Yibin said with an evil smile. Facing the siege of many powerful men, Chen Yibin was always at ease and relaxed. However, some flies are still a nuisance. Chen Yibin said as he slowly formed a seal. 5 shadow clones immediately appeared around him. Get rid of those flies. I'm going to put a collar on the 9-tailed fox. Looking at the 5 shadow clones, the original Chen Yibin said so lightly. To this, the 5 shadow clones all nodded. The next moment, swish 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 swish. 5 shadow clones all jumped down from the tall Susanoo's head. Then, 3 of them faced Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and Gamaken. One faced Jiraiya in Sage Mode. The last shadow clone slowly came in front of all the Konoha ninjas, including Tsunade, Kakashi, and others. Don't get in the way. Times 5. The 5 shadow clones of Chen Yibin said coldly at the same time. Asshole. Looking at the shadow clone Chen Yibin in front of them, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Gamabunta, and Gamahiro could not help but curse angrily and helplessly. On the other side. Okay, no one will disturb me anymore. You can wear the collar now. The original Chen Yibin was in the crystal head of the Susanoo complete form, looking at the beast like Naruto who had 8 tails not far in front of him. Motor. In the sealed space, Ju Lama roared angrily. Outside, the beast transformed Naruto also roared at Susanoo's perfect form. Just now, the huge-tailed beast ball was cut open by Susanoo's sword. Kurama's understanding of the power of Susanoo's perfect form was raised to a new level. Next, the out-of-control 8 tails Naruto continued to fire multiple, tailed beast balls, at Susanoo's perfect form. It seems like Prince's battle method. Susanoo walked straight towards it. As he walked, he casually knocked away the small-tailed beast balls. It was as easy as a human slapping a mosquito. Naruto, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Tsunade and others are all worried about Naruto at this moment. Because Naruto already has 8 tails, if he gets another one, it's irreversible. However, just as Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi and the others were about to make the slightest move, they saw, swish 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 swish. 5. Shadow clone Chen Yiban, at different positions, simultaneously released chakra and launched Susanoo level 3. In an instant, 5 tens of meters tall blue bodies blocked everyone's way. I told you. Don't get in the way. Times 5. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Gamabunta, Gamahiro, Gamaken, and everyone else looked angrily at Chen Yiban's shadow clone's Susanoo stage 3. Uchiha Madara's Susanoo is slightly different from others. In the third stage, he has the lower body and can stand up. And the body is over 30 meters long, very huge. At this moment, it gives everyone at the scene a strong sense of oppression. Although not as long as the full form of the main body, which is over 230 meters long. However, it is enough to stop Jiraiya in Sage mode, Tsunade, Gamabunta, Kakashi and others. You too, let's use that move. At this time, looking at the Susanoo third stage of Chen Yiban's shadow clone blocking his way, Jiraiya in Sage mode said so. Hearing this, the two big toad sages on Jiraiya's shoulders, Fukasaku and Shima, all seemed to understand the move Jiraiya said. Quickly. Immortal technique. Gomon. Fukasaku sage used wind style, Shima sage used fire style, and Jiraiya spat out oil. The three energies combined to instantly explode into a fierce flame force that seemed to devour everything. Chen Yiban's shadow clone only had a thought, and Susanoo immediately threw out a powerful, 8-plate Magatama. With a swish, the surging Gomon was split into two in an instant. At the same time, the other 3 arms of the Susanoo with 2 faces and 4 arms were not idle at all. They grabbed the void. Immediately 3 chakra swords appeared in the 3 big hands. Then, the 3 big hands slashed out together. Suddenly 3 sharp sword lights shot out. In the end, Gomon completely collapsed. There was even a last sword light that broke through Gomon and rushed straight towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya was forced to dodge in a hurry. Now Jiraiya only has 1 hand left, and even if he has entered the Sage mode, his strength is still discounted. Jiraiya dodged a blow of the 8-plate Magatama, and then took a look at the situation of others. It was discovered that Tsunade, Kakashi and the others were also blocked by the Susanoo of the 2 Chen Yiban shadow clones. It turned out that only the 2 Chen Yiban shadow clones were blocking the 3 brothers of Gamabunta. It was indeed the 2 Chen Yiban shadow clones that blocked the 3 brothers of Gamabunta in Myoboku Mountain. This is not good. Naruto. Jiraiya looked at Uzumaki Naruto again with worry. He saw that Chen Yiban's original body's Susanoo complete form had already grabbed the neck of Naruto with 8 tails. At this moment, Uzumaki Naruto was almost going to completely transform into a tailed beast. But before Jiraiya could take a closer look, Chen Yiban's shadow clone at the side once again used Susanoo, jumped up and kicked straight at him. Jiraiya stepped back to avoid it again, and then. Immortal technique. Frog croak. The 2 great toad immortals, Fukasaku and Shima, launched frog croak at Chen Yiban's shadow clone in the Susanoo in front of them. Just now, it was used on Chen Yiban's original body, but because the full Susanoo was too tall, it had almost no effect. But now, Chen Yiban's shadow clone was only a 3rd-level Susanoo, the distance was not too high, and the distance was very close, so it could have been effective. But, boom boom boom. Before the frogs could fully croak, the Susanoo third stage, in front of him threw a series of 8-plate Magatama. Jiraiya was exhausted again and had no power to fight back. Others were also beaten by the 8-plate Magatama and Chakra giant swords of several Suzanos and were forced to flee. They were unable to break through the 5 shadow clones of Chen Yiban. In fact, it felt like they were being chased and beaten. Can't we even deal with Uchiha Madara's shadow clone? Jiraiya shouted in anger. The next moment, a huge Rasengan condensed in his only remaining left hand. Super Big Ball Rasengan. Painful kick. On the other side, Princess Tsunade also attacked with hatred. Let the three of us teach you what is benevolence and righteousness. Gamabunta led the two-toed brothers beside him and began to fight back. However, the 5, Susanoo third stage, all blocked with both hands. They easily blocked the attacks of Jiraiya, Tsunade, Gamabunta and others. Even. Bang. Knocked them away with one punch. Seeing this scene. Ha ha. We can't even defeat his shadow clone. Hateful. In all directions, countless Konoha ninjas seemed to be truly in despair. Otherwise, we still leave the village. Some people even said so. Leaving the home where they had lived for half their lives, it can be seen how desperate Chen Yiban gave the Konoha ninjas. They really felt too powerless. It's still the same sentence. The legendary ninja, the Shira of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara, is too powerful. On the other side, Chen Yiban's original body opened a pair of blood-red eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and stared at Uzumaki Naruto, who was being strangled by his Susanoo perfect form, and had 8 tails. During this time, the out-of-control Uzumaki Naruto was trying to condense the tailed beast ball while being strangled by the neck. In response, Chen Yiban had an idea. One hand of the Susanoo perfect form continued to strangle his neck, and the other hand directly crushed the tailed beast ball that had not yet condensed. Quote. It's over. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Activate. Then, in a dark sealed space, I saw. That's right, kid, keep coming. Quick, tear it off and unseal it. In the sealed space, Kurama is constantly tempting Uzumaki Naruto, who is out of control at this moment. He wants him to tear off the seal paper and then unseal it. However, Naruto can tear the paper, but the seal is still there. It seems that it is not that easy to solve. And just when Uzumaki Naruto, with red eyes, slowly stepped forward and was about to really reach out and tear off the seal paper, a hand grabbed Naruto Uzumaki's hand and pulled it back. During this time, Naruto Uzumaki was also awakened by a clear power. Then, Uzumaki Naruto looked at the warm figure in front of him in the divine robe in surprise. At this moment, inside the gate of the sealed space, Ju-Lama excitedly slapped the giant sealed gate with one claw. Yongdaime. Roar. Seeing the figure wearing the divine robe, Ju-Lama immediately stepped forward and shouted angrily. It seemed that he wanted to tear the person who suddenly appeared in front of him into pieces. Who are you? At this moment, Uzumaki Naruto, who had regained consciousness, looked at the man in front of him with surprise. Why is the 4th Hokage here? Looking at Minato Namikaze, who was wearing a divine robe and had the same hair color as his own, Uzumaki Naruto was a little overwhelmed. Naruto, this is not the place to talk. Let me reinforce the seal of the 9 tails first, and then we can go to another place to talk. Namikaze Minato looked at his son Uzumaki Naruto, who was already 12 or 13 years old, with a gentle smile. In response, Uzumaki Naruto still had a stunned expression on his face. Bang! Yongdaime. On the side, Ju-Lama couldn't help but slap the huge sealed door again, and waved his fangs and claws at Minato Namikaze outside the door. 9-tailed fox. Looking at the 9-tailed demon fox in front of him, Minato Namikaze's expression was also very complicated. He couldn't help but think of Kushina. Afterwards, after coming to his senses, Namikaze Minato wanted to mobilize his remaining little strength to reinforce the seal on the 9 tails. However, just when Minato Namikaze was about to make a move, a blue force suddenly blasted him away. Yongdaime had no time to react. At the same time, because Yongdaime was not a living person at all. She was just a chakra consciousness. During this period, after Yongdaime was knocked out, she just stood up again and raised her head. But suddenly she saw, a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan appeared in front of her. Oh no! Yongdaime screamed subconsciously. Sure enough. The next moment, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, with its unrivaled power, burst into full power. Bamankai is the first. Shimura Danzo, that rat, is the second one. Minato Namikaze. It's the third one. Now, unseal it. Chen Yibin, wearing red armor and with waist-length hair, stared at the controlled Yongdai girl with his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Ma, what's up? Seeing Chen Yibin, Ju Lama no longer came up to slap the sealed door angrily. Instead, he couldn't help but take a step back. But at this time, Yang Daimei had already taken a step and walked to unlock the seal of the nine-tailed fox. Mata! Ku Lama roared again. Kyuubi almost cried. It would have been great if the seal had been unsealed just now. Now, that Mata has come in. If the seal is unsealed at this time, he, Ku Lama, will definitely become the pet of this man's terrifying pupil power again. How can he repair it? During motor. When Yongdaime was already working on unsealing the seal, Uzumaki Naruto saw Chen Yibin and reacted immediately, becoming extremely angry and punching him. Don't get in the way. Chen Yibin's pupils burst out. Boom. Instantly suppressed Uzumaki Naruto to his knees on the ground. Unable to move. Hateful. Uzumaki Naruto gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. On the side, Ju Lama also roared at Chen Yibin to protest. Don't worry, nine-tailed fox. Chen Yibin's cold face showed an evil smile, and his scarlet eyes glanced at the nine-tailed fox inside the sealed door. In this regard, watching the seal being unlocked little by little, Ju Lama really didn't know whether he should laugh or cry at this moment. Suddenly, just as the seal was about to be completely unlocked by Yang Daimei, a large number of chakra chains suddenly emerged and bound Chen Yibin. Chen Yibin still lightly released the powerful pupil power of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, shattering those chakra chains. At the same time, the eternal Mangekyo's super insight easily found the attacker. Swish! A huge blue skeleton hand suddenly appeared and quickly grabbed the figure and squeezed it tightly inside the blue skeleton hand. Uzumaki Kushina. You are not even the fourth one. Chen Yibin's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan's gaze was extremely cold, and he glanced at the woman who was caught by the skeleton's big hand. Minato, Naruto. Kushina looked at her husband and son with tears in her eyes. Chen Yibin's mind moved, and he directly annihilated Kushina's chakra consciousness. Anyway, they are not real living people. If they were really alive, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, Chen Yibin might still be interested in fighting with them. However, it was just a part of the chakra consciousness. Chen Yibin expressed no interest. Just crush it. At the same time, click. The seal of Ju Lama is completely broken. Well, instantly, Uzumaki Naruto felt as if his heart had suddenly stopped beating. Outside world. Call. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Hyuga Hiyashi and all the others, as well as Gamabunta and his three brothers, faced only 5 shadow clones of Chen Yibin, but everyone was so exhausted that they were out of breath. Hokage, our chakra has. Kakashi looked at Tsunade in front of him and thought that everyone had very little chakra left. Hateful. Princess Tsunade, the seal of the 100 healings on her body doesn't seem to be able to hold out for much longer. Little Jiraiya, are you okay? Shenron Fukusaku also felt that Jiraiya's breath was getting weaker and weaker. It's okay, I'm fine. Jiraiya said with a forced laugh. The other party is indeed a legendary figure, so powerful. Little Jiraiya, don't push yourself too hard now. Shima Sage also advised. In response, Jiraiya in Sage mode shook his head. I can't give up the village. Seeing this, Fukusaku and Shima sighed and stopped persuading. They just looked at Jiraiya worriedly, feeling that this was really a life and death crisis for Jiraiya. It's totally unreasonable. How can someone's shadow clone be so ridiculously strong? On the side, I saw Mitarashi Anko sitting there throwing a tantrum. Kakashi, Hyuga Hiyashi and others all felt the same way. Are these 5 guys really just shadow clones? They are ridiculously strong. Especially after fighting for such a long time. How can these 5 shadow clones still maintain the state of Susanoo level 3? You are just shadow clones. Can you figure out your own position? Don't act like you are cheating, okay? Roar. At this moment, a terrifying roar suddenly sounded in the distance. At the same time, boom. The huge object fell to the ground, shaking the earth. Then, everyone looked up. Instantly, everyone had a dumbfounded expression. However, the nine tails had completely reappeared in the world at this moment. Chen Yibin, with a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, appeared in front of all the ninjas of Konoha sitting on top of the nine tails head after the nine tails fell from the sky and landed. This scene. Everyone at the scene was completely stunned. It's over. Roar. I saw Kurama with the Sharingan pattern in his eyes, roaring fiercely at the countless Konoha ninjas in front of him and the many Konoha civilians in the distance. The cold and violent aura in an instant frightened countless ordinary ninjas and made them retreat. They had no courage to fight at all. The morale of the Konoha ninjas had been completely dispersed. Some civilians were even frightened by the nine tails and sat on the ground. It must be said that in terms of scaring people, the nine-tailed fox is even better than the Susanoo's perfect form. The Susanoo's perfect form may be even bigger than the nine-tailed fox. Maybe the nine-tailed fox is naturally violent and evil. Just a glance from a distance can scare people to death. During this period, many powerful people, such as Tsunade, Jiraiya, Gamabunta, Gamahiro, Gamaken, Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai, Hyuga Hiyashi, Nara Shikaku, etc., could not help but feel frightened when they saw the huge nine-tailed fox in front of them. However, any last words? Chen Yibin, wearing red armor, waist-length hair, and a scarlet eternal kaleidoscope, sat cross-legged on the head of the nine tails, smiling at every Konoha ninja and several Myobokusen toads in front of him. As he spoke, Chen Yibin even held his chin with one hand, which seemed extremely arrogant. This sense of laziness was amazing. This small action. It was like something that had completely plunged the already desperate Konoha people into the abyss. Enough, we can't win. I don't want to fight anymore, I want to survive, I want to leave Konoha. I want to leave too. I can't win. I can't win at all. I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I can't die. I saw that in despair, the psychologically fragile Konoha ninja and countless civilians around him knelt down directly. Master, please, don't. Don't kill me. At this moment, some of the kneeling Konoha ninjas and civilians directly begged Chen Yibin to spare them. Princess Tsunade was furious. However, she wanted to open her mouth to scold them, but she couldn't say anything in the end. Because, think about it, they didn't do anything wrong. Who doesn't want to live? If there is even a glimmer of hope to defeat the enemy, Princess Tsunade believes that these people in Konoha would not want to beg for forgiveness from the enemy so humbly. Isn't there anything else they can do? It's really the same old saying, the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Too strong. So strong that everyone on the field felt desperate. This definitely included Tsunade, because she also knew that Chen Yibin was even more invincible now. The original Chen Yibin was invincible. At this time, he forcibly unsealed Naruto and controlled the nine tails. Such an enemy. Princess Tsunade really doesn't know how Konoha can resist with these demoralized people at the moment. Motor. Do you really want to kill them all? Princess Tsunade seemed to gather her last bit of strength, stepped forward and shouted in a delicate voice. Tsunade. At this time, Jiraiya was very weak and came to Tsunade-ji in time. Tsunade girl, little Jiraiya is almost at his limit. Senin Fukusaku on Jiraiya's shoulder said, looking at Tsunade in front of him. Jiraiya. Tsunade came over worriedly to support Jiraiya. But she found Jiraiya couldn't even maintain sage mode. And the broken arm, the bleeding had stopped just now. But the battle with Chen Yibin's shadow clone, Susanoo 3, made Jiraiya's broken arm bleed again. Jiraiya was already seriously injured by the sword of the Susanoo perfect form, and up to this moment, Jiraiya was just holding on. Jiraiya has tried his best. It's not that Jiraiya is weak. It's that the enemy is ridiculously strong. Tsunade, take everyone away from Konoha. I will stop the enemy. Jiraiya was pale but his eyes were determined and resolute. He was ready to sacrifice himself to rescue the rest of Konoha. Tsunade did not say anything, but used her hands to circulate the little chakra left in her body to heal Jiraiya. Tsunade-sama, please let me do it. On the side, the slug moved to Jiraiya's side and began to use his ability to heal Jiraiya. In this way, Tsunade-sama stopped the output of medical ninjutsu. Then, motor. If you must find someone to exact historical revenge on, then. As the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, I am willing to face your revenge alone. However, the rest of Konoha are innocent. Hope. Don't kill them all. Tsunade came alone in front of the Nine Tails, and then looked directly at Chen Yiban on the Nine Tails' head. Tsunade. Jiraiya wants to stop Tsunade. Innocent people. However, Chen Yiban finally spoke up at this time, but he refuted Tsunade's words. When an avalanche occurs, what do you think? Which snowflake is innocent? Tsunade was speechless after hearing this. However, Tsunade still asked unwillingly, what do you want? Do you really want to kill all the thousands of people in Konoha? Chen Yiban did not respond immediately. During this period, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Hyuga Heihachi, Nara Shikaku and others did not speak. Because at this moment, except for Tsunade, the fifth-generation Hokage, no one else may be qualified to talk to Chen Yiban. And the life and death of everyone in Konoha is at stake. At this moment, everything is under Chen Yiban's words. During this time, Chen Yiban sat on the fierce Nine Tails' head, and then his pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan's scarlet eyes kept sweeping over countless Konoha ninjas and civilians in all directions. Looking at their different postures, but all of them were filled with despair. Those who kneel down can stay. Those who don't want to obey me can leave. Of course, you can try to resist again, maybe you can kill me. But, finally, Chen Yiban, who was on top of the Nine Tails, slowly stood up from the Nine Tails' head and said this. At the end, Chen Yiban sneered with contempt. And how many of the countless Konoha ninjas and civilians from all directions dared to resist Chen Yiban? Even Lord Madara, I am willing to obey you. And I am also willing to submit to you, Master Madara. And me, too. Countless Konoha ninjas who no longer had the courage to resist faced Chen Yiban on the Nine Tails' head and knelt down directly. The ninjas all did the same, and the Konoha civilians who knelt down from all directions were even more numerous. Seeing this scene, Tsunade lowered her head. She did not blame these civilians and ninjas. In fact, he just wanted to survive. He was right. However, for Chen Yiban, Princess Tsunade still wanted to bite him to death. And then, gradually, more and more Konoha ninjas and civilians knelt down to Chen Yiban on the huge head of the Nine Tails to show their submission. During this time, looking at Chen Yiban, who seemed to have killed Uzumaki Naruto and countless Konoha ninjas, Ichiraku's daughter Ayame in the original drama seemed unwilling to kneel down to him. She was so stubborn that she stood straight among the kneeling crowd like a crane among chickens. Until Uncle Ichiraku came over and forcibly pulled her to kneel down. Ayame still knelt indignantly. In the end, Princess Tsunade was seen holding the seriously injured Jiraiya with a dim look in her eyes, ready to leave the village of Konoha. It was not long ago that she had just returned to become the glorious fifth-generation Hokage. But she didn't expect. Should we say that fate is playing tricks on people? Princess Tsunade knew that Chen Yiban would definitely not allow her, the so-called fifth-generation Hokage, to stay. So, Princess Tsunade chose to leave. Moreover, not everyone chose to surrender to Chen Yiban. Many former Konoha ninjas, such as Kakashi, Nara Shikaku, Yuhi Kurenai, Mitarashi Anko, etc., still followed Princess Tsunade. However, did I say you can leave? But seeing that, with his hands clasped in front of him, Chen Yiban looked at Tsunade-sama with a scarlet smile as she turned around and helped Jiraiya to leave. Upon hearing this, Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya, Kakashi and others were all shocked. What do you want? Princess Tsunade immediately turned around with great vigilance and stared at Chen Yiban who was standing on top of the nine-tailed fox. Is he really going to kill them all? Single quote. Tsunade couldn't help but think in her heart. You are useful to me. So, you are Haselama's granddaughter. You can't leave. Chen Yiban, with his arms folded, continued with a faint smile. Tsunade-ji immediately glared at Chen Yiban fiercely. But she was helpless. She couldn't beat him. This was really the other party's decision. Why? Why Tsunade? Jiraiya's face turned pale and he couldn't help but stepped forward to ask. A wise man will make mistakes even if he makes 1,000 plans, but a fool will make 1,000 plans even if he makes a few gains. This woman's medical ninjutsu is really good. It's really good. Chen Yiban said with a faint smile. His right eye's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is not working properly now. After changing his eyes just now, the eternal Mangekyo cannot be turned on and off freely. For Tsunade, a medical expert, this is definitely a piece of cake. Chen Yibin can't possibly not want the Asura's flesh and blood stored in a certain grid in the system space, and the Asura's chakra contained in it. So, Tsunade-ji is needed again. It can be said that it doesn't matter if all the people in Konoha have left now, but Tsunade-ji must stay. As for the question of whether she might disobey or take the opportunity to do something small. Why did Chen Yibin want to kill Shimura Danzo and get his head? It was because of Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan Koto Amatsukami. Again, before Chen Yibin came to Konoha today, he had planned almost everything. Eight Gates Kai was the first. Shimura Danzo was the second. Namikaze Minato was the third. The fourth. It was her, Princess Tsunade. He, Chen Yibin, had a clear goal in mind. And, anyone who stands in my way will die. Konoha, night. After the war stopped, villagers and ninjas in the village began to repair the damaged houses one after another. And at this moment in the Hokage building. Primary achievement draw, 113 times. Medium achievement draw, 5 times. High achievement lottery, 2 times. Super achievement lottery, 1 time. Looking at the information interface displayed by the system in the void in front of him. Chen Yibin seemed particularly quiet in the Hokage building. After conquering Konoha, Chen Yibin came to the Hokage building alone to rest. During this time, no one dared to disturb him. So, Chen Yibin began to check today's results. It's quite rich. Still feels less. Although I didn't kill many masters, they should all be defeated by me. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be like this. However, Chen Yibin still felt a little dissatisfied. Although the Jonin of Konoha were no match for you, they did not admit defeat, and did not even kneel down and surrender to you in the end, nor did they fall down and lose their fighting power. To be included in the elementary achievement lottery, you must be at least an elite Chunin level, and there must be 10 of them. The achievement sign in system actually appeared to answer Chen Yibin's doubts and dissatisfaction. Quote, is that so? Chen Yibin murmured indifferently. Although Kakashi and his team could not defeat Chen Yibin, they did not admit defeat, nor did they kneel down and beg for mercy from Chen Yibin in the end. Therefore, Chen Yibin did not get the achievement lottery of many Konoha Jonins of Kakashi and his team. Okay, I understand it simply. Finally, I came to the Hokage's seat and sat down. I looked at the more than 100 different levels of lottery in the void again. There are too many useless low-level draws. Can this kind of thing be replaced? Sitting on the Hokage seat that should have belonged to Tsunade, Chen Yibin, with one hand supporting his chin, spoke lazily. Yes. 10 primary draws can be exchanged for 1 medium draw, 10 medium draws can be exchanged for 1 high draw, and so on. The system responded again. Then, let's replace the 113 primary draws with 1 high-level draw and 1 medium-level draw. Chen Yibin said directly. Then, proceed directly to the high-level lottery and super lottery. Chen Yibin continued to add. Now that the low-level lottery has been converted into a high-level lottery. Primary achievement draw, 3 times. Medium achievement draw, 6 times. High achievement lottery, 3 times. Super achievement lottery, 1 time. The draw begins. Congratulations, you got part of the flesh and blood of Hashirama Senju from the high-level lottery pool. Congratulations, you won the high-level lottery pool, Space-Time Ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God. Mastered. Congratulations, you got the 8 gates of Dunjia from the advanced lottery pool. Mastered. Congratulations, you won the super prize pool, Samsara Eye Technique, Heavenly Hand Power. Oh. Chen Yibin held his chin lazily with one hand, and at this moment, looking at the lottery prompt in the void, he couldn't help but curl his lips. Hashirama's cells. Too bad, I already have Ashura's. As for the 8 gates of Dunjia. Well, if Izanagi is combined with it, there might be some surprises. Not bad. Flying Thunder God. That's fine too. At last. The super draw turned out to be the pupil technique of the Samsara Eye, Heavenly Hand Power. Very good. It's just a pity that I haven't opened my Samsara Eye yet. At this moment, Chen Yibin put down his gloved hand that was supporting his chin, and his face finally showed a look of regret. It seems. It is urgent to integrate the power of Asura or Hashirama that we have obtained now. The words of the reincarnation I must open it. This requires Tsunade-sama. As he said this, Chen Yibin touched his right eye. At this moment, his right eye was still in the state of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and it could not be opened and closed freely. There was no other way. His medical skills were not very good. During the day, in order to deal with the night Kai of the 8 Gates Kai, Chen Yibin took off his original right eye and replaced it with a 3 Magatama Sharingan in the system space to perform Azanaki. Although he succeeded in killing the 8 Gates Kai in the end, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in his right eye could not be closed freely after it was replaced because of Chen Yibin's lack of skills. We have to let her do this for us. Chen Yibin murmured to himself, and the next moment he was even more direct. You outside can come in now. Suddenly, Chen Yibin looked at the locked door with the eternal kaleidoscope in his right eye and the normal black pupil in his left eye, as if he was talking to the air. However, creak. Outside, a plump figure seemed to have been waiting outside for a long time. After hearing Chen Yibin's words, she opened the door at the right time. Motor. Speak. What do you want me to do? Outside, Princess Tsunade stepped into the room aggressively and stared at Chen Yibin, who was sitting in the position of Hokage that originally belonged to her. During this time, seeing Chen Yibin's right eye with a Mangekyo Sharingan and his left eye with a normal pupil, Princess Tsunade felt a little strange. But she didn't think much about it. At this time. This word. Chen Yibin smiled coldly, and then said calmly, with your attitude now, I dare not let you start to do it to me. So. Snap. As he spoke, Chen Yibin's right hand emitted a rough green chakra of medical ninjutsu, and he actually chopped off his right eye again. In an instant, blood flowed out of the right eye socket. A sense of horror suddenly appeared inexplicably. You. What are you doing? Tsunade looked at Chen Yibin's self-mutilation behavior in shock and confusion. Wait, is it? You. Princess Tsunade was still quick-witted and soon seemed to remember something. That Danzo somehow got hold of Uchiha Shisui's eyes, and then you. So you want. After saying that, Tsunade closed her eyes the next second. She even turned away her white hair and tried not to face Chen Yibin's gaze. In response to this. Right. You were quite clever and guessed it right. It is indeed the Mangekyo Koto Amatsukami of that Uchiha Jr. But. Haselama's granddaughter, right. Do you think you can still resist me now? Chen Yibin admitted it directly and confidently. He even made such a direct and threatening speech. During this period, Chen Yibin smiled, but with blood flowing from his right eye, he looked extremely dark and terrifying. You. Madara. You are even more of a and shameless than that guy Shimura Danzo. Tsunade was extremely angry. But, yes. Can she resist? No. Finally, with a helpless and powerless sigh, Tsunade began to slowly open her beautiful eyes again. Those who know the times are heroes. Chen Yibin's smile deepened. Then, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan on his right hand disappeared out of thin air. After pressing the right eye socket again and his right hand quickly left the right eye. Mangekyo Sharingan. Other gods. 3 days later. In Konoha's hospital, Jiraiya, who had previously suffered a broken arm and was seriously injured, was now lying unconscious in the hospital ward. Until 3 days later. Jiraiya just slowly opened his eyes. Then, he saw the person he wanted to see the most. Tsunade. Tsunade. Jiraiya was in a trance for a moment, then he suddenly reacted and woke up, and immediately wanted to get up. Hiss. However, when he moved his right arm, he felt a lot of pain. Don't move. Your injury has just stabilized. Tsunade sat by the side and looked at Jiraiya on the bed. Hearing this, Jiraiya calmed down a little. However, looking at his right arm that was gone, Jiraiya still couldn't help feeling bitter. Tsunade, Madara, he is to you. Afterwards, Jiraiya began to care about Tsunade's question again. Don't worry. He didn't do anything to me. Tsunade shook her head calmly. But he didn't say that because you have excellent medical skills. Jiraiya, who had just woken up, was concerned about a lot of things. In response, Tsunade remained calm, but a hint of helplessness appeared in her eyes. That was 3 days ago. 3 days ago. Jiraiya was stunned, then he reacted and said, I was actually unconscious for 3 days. If I hadn't treated you, you would have probably been in a coma for 7 days and 7 nights. Tsunade smiled. Tsunade, how can you still laugh? What exactly does he want you to do for him? Jiraiya asked anxiously. Tsunade sighed slightly, then said, what I know is. He asked me to correct the incorrect eye meridians for his Sharingan. Princess Tsunade, hesitant to speak. What else? Jiraiya asked. Transplant 2 people's cells into his body. Tsunade continued. Transplant 2 human cells. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment. There is one, I am not sure. But if I am not mistaken, one of them. It should be the cells and flesh of my great-grandfather. Tsunade suddenly said. What? The cells of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. Jiraiya was shocked. I feel like that's my grandfather's cell. Tsunade-ji also looked solemn at this moment. Is that guy Madara trying to obtain the legendary would release power of the first Hokage? Jiraiya began to speculate. There is another person's cell that you don't even know. To be favored by a guy like Madara, you must be extraordinary. The chakra contained in that piece of flesh and blood from an unknown person. The feeling is no less than that of my great-grandfather, even stronger. Tsunade-ji bowed her head and said. What? Jiraiya was shocked again and again. At the same time, he couldn't help but blame. Tsunade, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but how could you? Oto Amigami. Princess Tsunade said these 3 words directly with her eyes dimmed. Jiraiya was stunned. He immediately understood why Tsunade transplanted other people's cells into Madara. Madara. Jiraiya couldn't help but slam the bed with his only remaining left hand. On the other side, in the Hokage building, Chen Yibin had directly occupied this place for 3 days of seclusion. As a result, Tsunade could only handle official business in a temporary office during these 3 days. And today, in the slightly dim Hokage building with the doors and windows closed. Jung. A pair of eyes emitting charming lavender light and with circles of circular ripples opened at this moment. It was as if it had just reached this state. Open your eyes. My reincarnation eye. It's finally opened. Chen Yibin, at this moment, had a grim smile on his face, unable to help showing his excitement. At this moment, in his eyes, there was a pair of lavender samsara eye. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Chen Yibin, who possesses the power of one of the 4 Uchiha laughing heroes, laughed excitedly again at this moment. The eyes. That's right. He couldn't help but touch his eyes with both hands, and the excitement on Chen Yibin's face could not be concealed. I didn't expect that the combined power of Otsutsuki Ashura and Hashirama would allow me to open my samsara eye in just 3 days. Compared to the dying Uchiha Madara in the original drama, he opened his eyes much, much faster. Good. Very good. This pupil force. No, my chakra has also been greatly enhanced. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yibin felt his pupil power and chakra surge, and he became even more excited. He laughed wildly. The next moment. Wheeled tomb. Be on you. Suddenly, Chen Yibin's pair of samsara eyes opened sharply. He activated his own samsara eyes pupil technique. But it seemed that nothing happened. However, in the case that it seemed that nothing happened, Chen Yibin's pair of samsara eyes could clearly see. 4 wheel-grave shadows appeared on both sides of him. Is it really the prison beside the grave? It seems that it is because I got Uchiha Madara's combat power template. But, it's also good. Chen Yibin smiled to himself. Oh, system, please integrate heavenly hand power for me as well. Should it be okay? Thinking of something, Chen Yibin suddenly seemed to be talking to the air in the dim room of the Hokage building. Yes. And we will make a perfect blend for you. Now, the fusion begins. In the void, there is only the system response that only Yibin could hear and see appeared. And with a clang, Chen Yibin felt his pair of samsara eyes raging with pupil power the next second. Soon, he felt that he had gained another pupil skill of the samsara eyes, heavenly hand power. This feeling, so comfortable. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yibin was crazy. An hour later. It was about noon, almost time for lunch. The door of the Hokage's office in the Hokage building was finally opened. Then Chen Yibin slowly walked out. At this moment, he had hidden his samsara eye, and his eyes had turned into the most normal black pupils. He had just opened the door of the Hokage's office that he had occupied for several days. Chen Yibin immediately saw a small figure standing outside the door. It seemed like he had been waiting for him. Senior Madara. Seeing Chen Yibin finally come out of the room, Uchiha Sasuke immediately couldn't help but take 2 steps forward with joy in his eyes. Then he bowed to Chen Yibin in front of him. You are the Uchiha Jr., the only Uchiha in Konoha. Looking at Uchiha Sasuke in front of him, Chen Yibin opened his normal black pupils and said indifferently. Yes, Senior Madara, my name is Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke said to Chen Yibin in front of him with a very respectful look. I know you are Urzuzi. Chen Yibin couldn't help but think in his heart. At the same time, sure enough, with Izuna. They really look alike. Single quote. Because of Uchiha Madara's memory, Chen Yibin couldn't help but look at Uchiha Sasuke in front of him with a complicated look. However, Chen Yibin soon recovered his mentality. So, you have been waiting for me outside. Chen Yibin looked at Urzuzi in front of him and asked calmly. Former clan leader, I want to take you as my master. Urzuzi suddenly knelt down and bowed to Chen Yibin in front of him. Seeing this, Chen Yibin couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Take me as your master. You, Urzuzi, really know how to do things. And you call me clan leader. Chen Yibin looked at Uchiha Sasuke, who was kneeling down at this moment, with a teasing look in his eyes, and couldn't help but continue. What a clever Uchiha Jr. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke was a little embarrassed. After all, calling Chen Yibin the clan leader does have the meaning of flattering and putting Chen Yibin on a pedestal. However, looking at Chen Yibin's attitude in front of him, Uchiha Sasuke felt that he was indeed a little too smart. But, senior, I sincerely hope to become your disciple. I want strength, I want revenge on someone. Uchiha Sasuke put his head on the ground and showed Chen Yibin a greater courtesy. Chen Yibin could guess that the person that Urzuzi was talking about at this moment should be Uchiha Itachi. Let's go eat first. I'm hungry. Chen Yibin did not directly refuse or accept Urzuzi's apprenticeship. Instead, he walked past Urzuzi and walked out of the Hokage building. Seeing this scene, Uchiha Sasuke's eyes flashed with determination, and he immediately stood up and trotted to keep up with Chen Yibin's footsteps. Then soon, the two of them walked out of the Hokage building and came to the door outside. Spot. Lord Madara. ×2. At the gate outside, 2 Konoha ninjas were on their daily duty. When they saw Chen Yibin appear, they immediately looked nervous. They knelt on one knee to salute Chen Yibin. Yeah. Chen Yibin replied calmly. During this time, he continued walking without stopping until he completely left the Hokage building. However, Uchiha Sasuke stopped and looked at the 2 ninjas on duty who were kneeling on one knee. Nizuzi felt that their strength should be no less than that of a Chunin or even an elite Chunin. They could all be considered strong. However, in front of the man in front of him, what if they were Chunin or even Jonin? They could only kneel down and submit. Die. Is this the absolute strong man? Single quote. Uchiha Sasuke, looking at the back of Chen Yibin in red armor and waist-length hair, couldn't help but feel a little admiration in his heart. And also yearning. Yearning whether he could be as strong as the man in front of him at any time. Thinking of this, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but smile, which was rarely seen at ordinary times. Then, he trotted over with more determined steps to catch up with Chen Yibin. In this way, Urzuzi was like a little follower, following Chen Yibin's ass closely. Konoha, on the streets that have been repaired and rebuilt, continues to have some of the prosperity of the past few days. At least those who should do business are doing business, those who should sell things continue to sell things, and those who should buy things are buying things. It's as if nothing happened before. Of course, it would be even better if the bottomless abyss slashed by perfect form Susanoo could disappear. In addition, the 1,000-meter gap kicked out by Yekai in the back mountain of Konoha has not been dealt with. In addition, where did Chen Yibin's more than 100 primary draws come from? They came from killing people, or beating others down and losing their combat effectiveness. That's how it came about. A battle a few days ago. Not counting civilians, Konoha lost at least 300 ninjas alone. Among them were Might Guy, Asuma Yuanfei, Choza Akamichi, Shikamaru Nara, Neji Hyuga, and many other outstanding ninjas from Konoha. There were even Shimura Danzo from the Elders' Council. Speaking of which, no one knows where the other two from the Elders' Council have been hiding these days. Chen Yibin thought that when he saw them in the future, he would just use Susanoo to send them to hell. At this moment, they have walked to the street which has regained its bustling status of the past few days. Chen Yibin saw that most of the Konoha ninjas or civilians on the street would bow and salute him immediately after seeing him. However, the fear, terror and hatred hidden in their eyes were. Chen Yibin could see it. Thinking back to what Uchiha Sasuke said not long ago, revenge. Sure enough, it can be inherited. Only hatred. Chen Yibin smiled indifferently. Then he continued to move forward. During this time, Uchiha Sasuke, who was following closely behind Chen Yibin, also noticed the strange looks from many Konoha civilians and some ninjas around him. Even because they had the same surname, Uchiha, and had the Sharingan, they were still following Chen Yibin. Some people around couldn't help but even hate Uchiha Sasuke as well. Ha! Uchiha Sasuke smiled coldly. He didn't care about other people's eyes at all. Urzuzi was almost unaffected and continued to follow Chen Yibin. During this period, Chen Yibin noticed Urzuzi's state and saw that he faced those people's eyes with disdain. Chen Yibin couldn't help but smile faintly in his heart. This kid is actually in a good mood. Finally, after being bowed to and stared at with hatred and fear, Chen Yibin walked and stopped, and finally came to a place to eat noodles. Yes, that's right, Ichiraku ramen. Uchiha, Madara. Madara-sama. When I saw Chen Yibin's appearance, Uncle Ichiraku, who was nicknamed Otsutsuki Ichiraku by netizens from another world, suddenly looked nervous. Hey, what are you doing here? At this time, Uncle Yil's daughter, Akoris, suddenly stepped forward and shouted at Chen Yibin across the counter. Akoris, don't be rude. Uncle Yil hurried over to cover his daughter's mouth, and apologized to Chen Yibin, saying, Master Ban, please forgive me. Ha, no problem. Chen Yibin didn't care and smiled. Then, excuse me, is there anything to eat? Chen Yibin glanced at Uncle Yil and asked casually. Yes, you can eat noodles in the shop. Mr. Madara, what flavor do you like? Uncle Ichiraku pushed his daughter Ayame aside and walked up to greet him. At this moment, he was afraid that Chen Yibin would be unhappy and then use the foot released by Susanoo to crush his ramen shop. Yeah, it tastes good. Not long after, Chen Yibin finished a big bowl of Ichiraku ramen, then put down his bowl and chopsticks and smiled faintly. On the side, after Chen Yibin finished eating, Uchiha Sasuke also hurriedly ate up the ramen in the bowl. Humph, the culprit who caused Naruto to be unconscious in the hospital and killed so many people in Konoha. At this moment, Ayame was still staring at Chen Yibin indignantly. In response, you are very brave. Chen Yibin inexplicably gave Chongpu a compliment. Humph, are you mocking me? Chongpu pouted. Akoris, shut up. Uncle Yil picked up a stick and was about to teach his ignorant daughter a lesson. Naruto. Is it the yellow-haired kid who was the original Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? At this time, Chen Yibin suddenly asked this question. Hearing this, Uncle Yil stopped threatening his daughter. Yes, Senior Madara. That guy was my teammate before. Uchiha Sasuke at the side spoke up at the right time to explain to Chen Yibin. In fact, Chen Yibin certainly knew the information about Uzumaki Naruto. It's just. That kid is still alive. Chen Yibin was a little curious and surprised. The nine-tailed demon fox in Uzumaki Naruto's body was forcibly taken away by him, Chen Yibin, but the other party was still alive. Could it be that at this time, Uzumaki Naruto could still see the soul of the dead old man, Six Paths Sage, and then obtain the power of the old man of Six Paths? Thinking of this, Chen Yibin's eyes condensed slightly. Sasuke, take me to see that brat. And one more thing. Pay the money for the noodles. Hospital, award. Uchiha Sasuke hesitated for a moment, but finally went forward and knocked on the door. Soon, the door of the ward was opened. Sasuke. It was Haruno Sakura who opened the door. Seeing that it was Nijiru who knocked on the door, she was immediately surprised. But, You. Uchiha Madara. Uchiha. The next second, Haruno Sakura's face turned horrified, as if she had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. Sakura, what's wrong? Inside the ward, Tsunade's voice rang out. Hokage-sama, yes. Uchiha Madara. At the door, Haruno Sakura took several steps back in doubt, and then pointed at the road outside the door. What? Times in the ward. Three voices of doubt and uncertainty were heard in succession. They were Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Tsunade. Then, tut, clatter. Following a few footsteps, Chen Yiban, wearing red armor and with waist-length hair, walked into the ward from outside. Uchiha Mata. Suddenly, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi in the ward immediately felt like they were facing a great enemy. Haruno Sakura was so scared that she dared not speak. Madara, what are you doing here? Jiraiya, covering his right side which was heavily bandaged, looked extremely alert. Meanwhile, Tsunade and Kakashi were ready to attack at any time. In response, don't waste your energy. If I really want to do something, do you think you can stop me? Chen Yiban glanced at the three of them with disdain. Hearing this, the three of them were angry and helpless. Because what Chen Yiban said was true. Obviously, two of the three of them were two of the famous three ninjas in the ninja world, and Kakashi was also known as the copy ninja. They are all famous strong men. But at this moment, in front of the man in red armor, the three of them seemed really weak and timid. There is a hint of inexplicable funny. Jiraiya, with a look of resignation. Motor. Princess Tsunade wanted to say something. But, don't worry, I'm just here to take a look. How can a Jinchuriki still be alive after losing the tailed beast in his body? Chen Yiban said this directly. As he spoke, he walked straight forward and walked towards the bed blocked by three people behind him. During this time, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Kakashi tried to stop Chen Yiban. Boom. Without saying anything, Chen Yiban's terrifying chakra exploded and pressed down on the three of them. As for Haruno Sakura, Chen Yiban almost ignored her from beginning to end. Instantly, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi felt as if a huge mountain had appeared on their bodies and pressed them down. They were unable to move for a moment. In these few seconds, Chen Yiban had come to the bedside and saw Uzumaki Naruto lying on the bed. The Sharingan, which was already able to open and close freely, was directly open to the eternal Mangekyo posture. Then, the powerful insight and slight perspective ability were activated. Begin to analyze the situation inside Uzumaki Naruto's body. There is still hope. Soon after, Chen Yiban closed the eternal Mangekyo, with a hint of surprise on his face. Uzumaki Naruto is really not in danger of death. Is it really the protagonist's halo? During this period, Chen Yiban also lifted the chakra suppression on Tsunade and the other three at the right time. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi immediately felt relieved. After reacting, the three looked at Chen Yiban behind them with doubtful eyes. His power seems to have become even stronger. Single quote. The three of them exclaimed in their hearts. Chen Yiban now has the power of Otsutsuki Ashura, Senju Hashirama, and even has the Samsara Eye opened. The gap between him and Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi and others is already a world of difference. If Chen Yiban wanted to, he could kill the three of them instantly. Madara Sr. At this time, when Uchiha Sasuke saw Chen Yiban approaching Uzumaki Naruto, he couldn't help but suddenly spoke. Are you worried about him? Chen Yiban looked at the unconscious Uzumaki Naruto on the bed, then looked at Uchiha Sasuke next to him. Urzuzi was a little reluctant to admit it. Seeing this, Chen Yiban retracted his gaze. Then, system, what will happen if I kill the protagonist Uzumaki Naruto? Single quote. Chen Yiban, secretly contacted in his heart, achievement sign in system. If you don't want to leave this world immediately, it is recommended to keep him alive for now. Killing the protagonist of the world will have unpredictable consequences. Is that so? Chen Yiban took one last look at Uzumaki Naruto lying on the bed. I hope you won't get in my way next time. Otherwise, I won't care whether you are the protagonist of the world or not. Single quote. The next moment, under the gazes of Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Haruno Sakura, and Nibashi, Chen Yiban turned around and slowly walked out of the ward. Suddenly, call. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Haruno Sakura and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. When that guy was around, it felt like even breathing was extremely difficult. Especially Haruno Sakura, who was the weakest. The fear of Chen Yibin in her heart was simply indescribable. Chen Yibin stayed in seclusion in the Hokage building for 3 days and 3 nights. During this period, the entire ninja world was actually in an uproar. Lord Tsuchikage. Urgent report. In the land of Earth, Iwagakure village, a Iwagakure ninja came to Onoki and knelt on one knee. On the side, Kuretsuchi was just talking to his old Tsuchikage in the Tsuchikage's office. He was startled when he saw the ninja who was reporting the urgent news. Then he was curious. Urgent news. These 2 words are not said casually. What urgent news? Is it about the ninja world, or our own Iwagakure? Old man Onoki was also a little curious and surprised at this moment. Urgent news. What urgent news? In response, Lord Tsuchikage. It's about the ninja world. A letter came from the outside saying, the legendary ninja, the former Shira of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara, has returned. The Iwagakure ninja continued to kneel on one knee, reporting with a hint of surprise in his tone. Onoki was stunned at the Tsuchikage's seat. The legendary Shira of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara. Kuretsuchi looked curious. Didn't they say he was dead? What does it mean that he came back? Kuretsuchi looked at the Iwagakure, with a hint of doubt in his curiosity. But he didn't notice the strangeness of the old man Onoki sitting next to him. The moment he heard the words, Uchiha Madara is back, Onoki was stunned. In his mind, there is no such thing as an alliance. Submit to the power of Konoha. The image of Uchiha Madara with his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was still vivid in his mind. At this moment, Onoki lost his mind. Intel. Old man. Hey, old man. Kuretsuchi's shout woke up Onoki, who was in a trance. When Onoki came to his senses, he saw his granddaughter Kuretsuchi handing him a secret report. Our outside line sent urgent information about the so-called Uchiha Madara. Everyone talks about how powerful Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha were. Are they really that powerful? After handing the secret report to Onoki, Kuretsuchi seemed a little unconvinced. He felt that he was definitely not inferior to anyone. It must be said, young and frivolous. In this regard, you don't understand how strong those 2 people were at that time. Onoki looked at the secret report in his hand, but his eyes seemed to be immersed in bad memories. Then, Onoki opened the secret report. After taking a look, the blue Susanoo is indeed that guy. Wait. Onoki's expression kept changing. He couldn't hide his shock at all. Old man, is it necessary to do this? Haitu was a little unimpressed. Until she came forward and took a look at the contents of the secret report. Uchiha Madara, alone, faced thousands of ninjas from Konoha led by Princess Tsunade. Later, he activated the huge Susanoo complete form, a blue armored giant with a body size of more than 230 meters. With just one sword, Susanoo complete form cut the entire Konoha in half, creating a huge chasm about 100 meters wide, several thousand meters long, and bottomless. Konoha suffered countless casualties. In the end, Konoha fell to Uchiha Madara. In addition, the nine-tailed demon fox was also taken out of the Jinchuriki by Uchiha Madara. This. Kuretsuchi was stunned. Are you writing a novel? Is this information sent by an outsider? Even a novelist wouldn't dare to be so exaggerated. Kuretsuchi was shocked and couldn't believe it. On the side, Onoki's face was already as red as a pig's liver. Nine-tailed. He got the nine-tailed fox again. It is said that the man named Uchiha Madara once combined Susanoo and the nine tails to form. How is it possible? He should have died a long time ago, in the battle with Hashirama Senju in the Valley of the End. Why did he appear at this time? Onoki couldn't believe the reality at this moment. He was almost dead of old age. Uchiha Madara, who was older than him, had regained his youth and reappeared in the world. Isn't this ridiculous? At the same time, thunder, wind, water. The other three major countries also received the information. Even some small countries heard the news. Even some wandering, countryless ninjas heard the rumor that the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara had resurrected and returned to the ninja world and conquered Konoha. In an instant, in just 3 days and 3 nights, because of Chen Yibin. The entire ninja world was in an uproar. At this moment, in a dark place. By Zetsu, is that true? The man in a black robe with red clouds and a brown vortex mask looked at the place where there was no one, as if he was asking the air. But, whoosh. A few seconds later, a white Baiju appeared in that place, slowly emerging from the soil. I do not know. That person actually looks exactly like Madara-sama, just younger. Moreover, that guy's eyes are actually Madara-sama's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Even the various states of Susanoo are exactly the same as those of Lord Madara in the past. It's as if Madara-sama has really regained his youth and resurrected. It's incredible. A white Zetsu slowly emerged from the picture, looking at Uchiha Obito wearing a whirlpool mask, and kept talking in a chatterbox. Resurrection. Uchiha Obito heard this, and the Kamui Sharingan in his right eye condensed slightly. He didn't really want Uchiha Madara to come back to life. He wanted to carry out the Moon Eye project step by step with his own ability. Obito didn't believe Madara. He just said, Baiju, what do you think? Is that him? Uchiha Obito suddenly asked again. Upon hearing this, a black object emerged from the ground nearby. Black Zetsu. That guy is definitely not Madara-sama. At least it's not the Madara-sama I know. As soon as Black Zetsu appeared, he immediately denied it. Oh. Uchiha Obito's Sharingan flashed with interest and looked at Black Zetsu. He signaled him to continue. So. It is known. Madara-sama's eyes have turned into the Rinnegan, and they are already on that person's eyes. I just went to Akatsuki to check, the Samsara eye is still there. Therefore, this alone is enough to conclude that the person who appeared now is definitely not Lord Madara. Another thing we all know. Madara-sama has transplanted Hashirama's cells, so he can perform wood release. But, that guy didn't use wood release in the battle in Konoha 4 days ago. You may think that just because he doesn't use it, it doesn't mean he can't do it. Of course, it just so happened that I was in Konoha 4 days ago and happened to see that person from a distance. Although I didn't dare to get too close, I still felt. There's no scent of Hashirama's cells on that guy. Therefore, based on these 2 points, it can be concluded that the guy is a fake. I just don't know what means he used to have the same powerful strength and ability as Madara-sama. Black Zetsu talked freely, but in the end he was also curious about how Chen Yibin from Konoha had the same power and ability as Uchiha Madara. After listening to Black Zetsu's words, Uchiha Obito felt relieved. However, it seems that I need to go to Konoha. Obito still wanted to confirm with his own eyes that the other party was not Uchiha Madara. In addition, even if it was not the real Uchiha Madara, the power that Chen Yibin possessed still made Obito fearful. It would be best to kill him. So as not to affect the progress of the Moon Eye. Another strange place. One after another, phantom-like figures, through some special ninjutsu, everyone's consciousness can come to the same place from thousands of miles away to hold a meeting. At this moment, many figures, some phantoms and some real people, are standing on the fingers of a huge humanoid dead tree-like monster. Have you heard? Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest news in the ninja world recently. When they arrived at the meeting place, on the finger of the Outer Path demon statue, among the crowd, Deidara couldn't help but speak out. I just left Konoha and am rushing back to the organization as quickly as possible. I don't have time to listen to any news on the way. Beside Uchiha Itachi, Hoshigaki Kisame sneered with a mouthful of fangs. On the side, Uchiha was alone against 7 people with an indifferent expression, quietly watching the people on the field as if it had nothing to do with him. It's about Itachi. Suddenly, Tendo Pain spoke up from the main seat. He actually looked at Uchiha Itachi, who had an indifferent expression. Upon hearing this, Hoshigaki Kisame, Sasori, Hidan, Kakuzu, Deidara, Konan and others all looked at Uchiha Itachi. During this time, after hearing Tendo Pain's words, Uchiha Itachi also looked at Pain with some confusion. I also heard that this matter is indeed related to Itachi. And, speaking of it, it is really hard to believe. Among the crowd, Kakuzu suddenly interrupted. Seeing this, Hoshigaki Kisame and Itachi were a little curious. Intel. Isn't it just the legendary Uchiha Madara who has been resurrected? How can he compare to the evil god? Hidan, directly announced the answer. What? Hearing this, Hoshigaki Kisame couldn't help but be startled. Even Uchiha Itachi's pupils shrank suddenly. But in his mind, the figure of a man wearing a vortex mask appeared. Uchiha Madara. Fire Country, Konoha. After leaving Konoha Hospital, Chen Yibin went straight to the back mountain of Konoha. During this time, Uchiha Sasuke was still following behind Chen Yibin like a little tail bug. What is the current level of your Sharingan? Chen Yibin, who was walking in front, suddenly asked. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke behind him was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted and immediately answered. Senior Madara, I only have 2 Magatama at the moment, said Nizuzi a little unconfidently. Double Magatama. Chen Yibin murmured. Wait until you reach the level of 3 Magatama, then come find me. Finally, Chen Yibin turned around and glanced at Urzuzi behind him. Senior, Uchiha Sasuke is a little unwilling. Cut off the ties with your former partners, and your Sharingan should be able to evolve. Chen Yibin has slowly left, leaving only this sentence. But he signaled Uchiha Sasuke to break up with Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura and Kakashi. Well, didn't the second pillar in the original play upgrade to 3 Magatama when he left Konoha and fought with Uzumaki Naruto? Now it's okay to reproduce it in a different way. Anyway, the conditions. Chen Yibin has already said it. Whether to do it or not is up to Urzuzi himself. Anyway, Chen Yibin didn't force him. Everything is his own choice. In this regard, Uchiha Sasuke stroked his eyes. Naruto. Urzuzi's eyes moved slightly, but in the end, only hatred remained. What I need now is not bondage, but strength. The power to take revenge on that man. So, however, Uchiha Sasuke had already made up his mind at this moment. During this time, a pair of double Magatama Sharingan appeared in the eyes of the second pillar without knowing when, and the Magatama was spinning rapidly. It seemed that it would reach a new level in the next moment. However, it seemed that it was not the right time yet, and the Magatama finally stopped, and it was still just a pair of Magatama. However, it's almost there. After that, Nibashi chose to leave and did not follow Chen Yibin. After the 3 Magatama Sharingan is opened, Nibashi will go to find him again. In this way, Chen Yibin became alone again and walked towards the back mountain of Konoha. Soon, he came to a valley next to the huge gully that was kicked out by the Night Kai of the 8-Gate Kai before. Spot. Lord Madara. Times 5. On the side of the call, there are 5 Konoha Anbu ninjas guarding the side. Seeing Chen Yibin coming, the 5 Anbu ninjas were a little awed and immediately bowed to Chen Yibin. If you ask why they are here, that's because, in the middle of the call, a giant beast with 9 tails was lying there at this moment. It was Nine-tailed demon fox, Kurama. During this time, a person who looked exactly like Chen Yibin was sitting on the head of the nine-tailed fox. It was obviously Chen Yibin's shadow clone. A few days ago, after the battle stopped, Chen Yibin asked a shadow clone to take Kurama to the back mountain. But I didn't expect that several days would pass in a flash. Roar. Suddenly, the nine-tailed fox, controlled by the shadow clone Chen Yibin, stood up and roared at Chen Yibin's real body who had arrived late. Original body, you are too slow. The shadow clone Chen Yibin seemed a little angry. Indeed, after all, he had been waiting for the original body on the top of Ju Lama for at least 3 days and 3 nights out of boredom. The shadow clone was already emotional. It's so noisy. The original Chen Yibin replied calmly. Humph. The shadow clone looked proud. Now that you are here. Puff. The shadow clone couldn't wait and chose to disappear. It was like those office workers in another world who didn't want to stay for a second longer after working overtime all night. In response, Chen Yibin smiled faintly. Then, did Tsunade-sama arrange for you to come here? Chen Yibin's bright black pupils glanced indifferently at the 5 Konoha Anbu ninjas beside him. Yes, mister. Because the 5th Hokage said. To be on the safe side. All of a sudden, the 5 Konoha Anbu ninjas looked at the real Chen Yibin in front of them, and there was a hint of doubt in their tone. They were afraid that Chen Yibin would be dissatisfied with this and then kill them with one blow. Okay, you can go now. Chen Yibin was not so mean. He just waved his hand and told them to leave. Yes, Master Madara. The 5 Anbu ninjas immediately bowed deeply to Chen Yibin in front of them again as if they had been pardoned. Then, swish, 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 swish. They were just like the shadow clone Chen Yibin, unwilling to stay even for a second, and fled in an instant as if they were escaping for their lives. The legendary ninja Uchiha Madara, and the 9-tailed demon fox. We are all in this valley right now. What could be scarier than this? 9-tailed fox. Finally, alone again, Chen Yibin looked at the huge 9-tailed fox in front of him. Seeing that the other party's pupils were still controlled by pupil power, Chen Yibin's mind moved. Jung. The Mangekyo Sharingan revealed 2 eyes. However, it took back the control of the 9-tails' pupil power from a distance, allowing the 9-tails to regain its consciousness. Roar. Motor. Just as he regained his sanity, Zhu Lama roared at Chen Yibin in extreme anger. At the same time, he grabbed Chen Yibin fiercely with one claw. The sharp fox claw seemed to be determined to pierce Chen Yibin's body before he would give up. Then, swish. Ding. The two-faced, four-armed Susanoo, second stage, appeared instantly and easily swatted away the 9-tails' grasp. 9-tailed fox, do you want to continue to be lost in the power of the pupil and become an irrational tool? Or do you want to surrender obediently? Chen Yibin, with a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan open, stared at the 9-tailed fox in front of him and said coldly. In response, surrender to you. Motor. Stop thinking about good things. Roar. 9-tailed fox, swear to die. Ha! You are indeed a stupid beast. The Mangekyo Sharingan revealed rude arrogance and prejudice. Motor. The 9-tailed fox stared at Chen Yibin in front of him with resentful eyes. The next moment, he wanted to directly activate the tailed beast ball. However, the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan blossomed slightly, and the 3 Magatama pattern appeared in Kurama's pupils again, and then he became unable to move. How can it be repaired? Kurama gnashed his teeth. How could he, the strongest tailed beast with 9 tails, always be played around by that Madara? At this time, Chen Yibin. System, although I have obtained the battle power template of Uchiha Madara, I do not have a summoning contract with the 9 tails. So, is there any way for me to summon the 9 tails anytime and anywhere? In addition, is there any better form of spiritual communication and control? Single quote. However, Chen Yibin looked at the immobile 9-tailed fox in front of him, and secretly contacted the achievement sign in system in his heart. Soon. Consume a medium achievement lottery to sign a soul contract with the 9-tailed fox. Force it to be your own spiritual beast. Consume 3 medium-level achievement draws to create a different space for you to imprison your beast pet. After that, 2 more days passed. Although Chen Yibin has already given up the Hokage building, allowing Tsunade to return to the office of the Hokage building to continue her duties as Hokage. However, he still stayed on the rooftop of the Hokage building these days. Between heaven and earth, Chen Yibin sits cross-legged day and night. He is indeed doing the final stabilization work of the surging energy in his body after fusing the power of Otsutsuki Ashura and Senju Hashirama. And there is. The power of the Samsara Eye was also constantly sublimating. The power of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was also strengthened a lot. Therefore, Chen Yibin sat alone on the rooftop of the building for 2 days and 2 nights. He was doing the final stabilization work of his own power. During this period, in the Hokage's office below, Tsunade looked at the rooftop every time she finished her work. She couldn't help but let her beautiful eyes show deep resentment. Princess Tsunade even suspected that Chen Yibin wanted to be above her, the Hokage, on purpose. Anyway, when Princess Tsunade thought of that guy always on the rooftop above her head, she felt as if someone was looking over her head. Unhappy. Very unhappy. The main problem was that no one in the entire Konoha could beat him. So she could only endure the unhappiness and the feeling became more and more unhappy. Princess Tsunade even thought about whether to move the Hokage's office to another place. Really? But, in the past 2 days, there is a piece of news that can be considered good news. That is, Naruto is really lucky and woke up yesterday. Also, Jiraiya's injury is basically stable. However, his right hand is indeed gone. At this moment, in the hospital ward, lecherous immortal, is the village okay now? Naruto was lying on the hospital bed, then looked at Jiraiya beside him and asked worriedly. Don't worry. That guy didn't kill them all in the end. Although we suffered heavy losses, we were not completely destroyed. Jiraiya smiled bitterly at Naruto's worries. During this time, he glanced at his right broken arm, and his expression could not help but dim. Lecherous fairy, your hand. Naruto looked at Jiraiya beside him with concern. Well, facing an enemy like Madara, it's a blessing to be alive. It should be difficult to survive without any losses, right? Ha ha ha. Jiraiya regained his composure and said half-jokingly. That guy is now staying in the village and refusing to leave. Naruto said indignantly. Don't think too much. In fact, if he hadn't had a trace of compassion in his heart, I'm afraid that all the people in Konoha would have been displaced. I don't know what happened during the Warring States period. Why did Madara say that Konoha owed Uchiha? Jiraiya, who only had one hand left, touched his chin and said. Humph, that guy must be talking to himself. Naruto hated Chen Yiban, so he didn't believe everything he said at that time. At this moment, the door at the entrance was gently pushed open, and Kakashi walked in with a basket of fruits, smiling. Haruno Sakura followed behind him. Teacher Kakashi and Sakura. Naruto smiled. Well, it seems you have recovered well. Kakashi smiled with relief. Kakashi-sensei, your Sharingan. Naruto then noticed that Kakashi's left eye seemed to have been replaced by an ordinary brown eye. Is the former Sharingan Kakashi no longer in existence? Because that Sharingan was taken away by Madara. Then the Hokage helped me replace it with a pretty good eye. Kakashi said after putting down the fruit. Is that so? Naruto nodded slightly. It felt like everyone had lost something after Madara's attack on Konoha. Could it be that Konoha really owed Uchiha, so the other party came to collect the debt? By the way, where's Sasuke? At this time, Naruto tried his best to straighten up, sat up from the hospital bed and asked again. During this time, Kakashi helped Naruto sit up, and then heard what Naruto said at this time, but didn't know how to answer. Seeing this scene, Naruto felt a little bad, and then looked at Sakura Haruno on the side. Sakura, how is Sasuke? Hearing this, he saw that Sakura Haruno on the side seemed depressed. Sasuke has been in the former Uchiha clan's territory these days, and has not seen anyone. Why? Naruto was puzzled about this. That day, Shimura Danzo of the Elders' Council showed a whole hand full of Sharingan, and even the right eye was the Mangekyo Sharingan that once belonged to Uchiha Shisui. They were all the eyes of Uchiha. Coupled with Madara's extreme remarks that day, Sasuke. He must have been affected. Maybe he even doubted Konoha and didn't believe in Konoha, right? Kakashi sighed helplessly. The problem was indeed a bit complicated. As a teacher, Kakashi didn't know how to deal with it for a while. I thought about letting Sasuke calm down for a few days. Sasuke. Naruto had a bad feeling in his heart. And just at this moment, clatter. Following the sound of light footsteps. Uchiha Sasuke, wearing clothes with the Uchiha clan emblem, came to the hospital ward. Sasuke. Instantly, Haruno Sakura was the first to speak out in joy and surprise. Sasuke, you idiot, I'm already in the hospital, and you're only here to see me now. Naruto immediately smiled happily, and at the same time said with a slight complaint. Kakashi and Jiraiya were both a little happy to see the three little ones in front of them. Then, I am here to sever the ties with you. Uchiha Sasuke opened his mouth and said. You. What did you say? Naruto stared blankly at the door from his bed. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura looked at Sasuke in surprise. Kakashi and Jiraiya also felt that things were getting serious. This kid really started to distrust Konoha and the village. At this time, from now on, I, Uchiha Sasuke, am no longer a member of Team 7. Even more, I am no longer a member of Konoha. I am Uchiha Sasuke of the Uchiha clan. Only Uchiha. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke's face was full of determination. He had made up his mind. For power, to sever the ties with Naruto, Kakashi, Haruno, and Sakura. Everything, in order to gain enough strength to avenge that man. Moreover, Konoha really can't be trusted. Think about the right eye of Shimura Danzo a few days ago, and the whole right handful of Sharingan. Uchiha Sasuke wished he had killed Shimura Danzo himself. And Shimura Danzo was the elders of Konoha Ninja Village. Could it be that the former third Hokage really knew nothing about what Shimura Danzo did? Ha! Is it possible? Hypocritical Konoha. Hypocritical will of fire. They are all a group of wolves and tigers who covet the power of Uchiha. So be it. We may not be enemies when we meet next time, but we are no longer partners either. Uchiha Sasuke said this at last. He turned around and prepared to leave. Stop. Sasuke, are you serious? Uzumaki Naruto was so excited that he wanted to get off the bed to stop the two pillars from leaving. But at this moment, Naruto was still very weak and couldn't even stand up for the time being. Sasuke, are you really going to look for that guy Madara? Kakashi stepped forward and said. Hearing this, the second pillar paused slightly. Then. Shouldn't it? I am Uchiha Sasuke, he is Uchiha Madara. We are all Uchiha. The second pillar, with a cold expression on his face, turned back to look at Kakashi. During a pair of double Magatama Sharingan, I don't know when it has appeared in the pupils of the two pillars. The Magatama is spinning at a high speed. Until the end. A pair of 3 Magatama Sharingan completely stabilized in the pupils of the two eyes of the second pillar. This is. Kakashi was shocked. Has the Sharingan evolved? Looking at the dark and evil power in Sasuke's eyes at this moment, Jiraiya looked solemn. Sasuke. Naruto and Haruno Sakura looked at Sasuke in surprise. I have completely severed the ties between us. Uchiha Sasuke opened his 3 Magatama Sharingan and took one last look at the people at the moment. Then, he turned around and left completely. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura chased after him, but found that he was no longer in the hospital. On the other side. On the rooftop of the Hokage building. After Tsunade had finished her basic duties as a Hokage, she glanced at the time and prepared to go eat something. When she left, Tsunade glared at the man on the rooftop who was wearing red armor and had long hair flying in the wind. Chen Yibin kept his eyes closed, feeling, concentrating, and stabilizing the increasingly powerful power in his body. For 2 days and 2 nights, Chen Yibin kept doing this. And not long after Tsunade left. Swish. A figure jumped up from the wall of the Hokage building and landed on the rooftop not far away from Chen Yibin, who was sitting cross-legged. Senior Madara, I have done it. It was Uchiha Sasuke, who looked at Chen Yibin in front of him with an anxious and expectant look. Senior Madara, my Sharingan has reached the level of 3 Magatama. I saw that Nibashi continued to say to Chen Yibin with a little excitement. At the same time, he showed the 3 Magatama Sharingan in front of Chen Yibin. Chen Yibin felt the power of the pupil after its evolution. Without moving his body or opening his eyes, he just used one hand to make a faint seal. The next second, a creaking sound. A human-shaped wood quickly condensed from Chen Yibin's body and drilled out of Chen Yibin's body. When it landed, a wood-release clone that looked exactly like Chen Yibin stood straight in front of Uchiha Sasuke. This is, according to legend, the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. The second pillar looked at the wood clone in front of him in disbelief. He couldn't believe that Chen Yibin actually obtained the power of wood escape. That was the blood-inherited ninjutsu of the first-generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama, who was once called the god of ninja. How come Senior Madara in front of him also knows it? It's so sudden. Thanks for watching.